All right, welcome back to the IMNerdpodcast, guys. I'm your host, Freyway, and I'm here with my zombified co-host, Kenny. And we also have a returning special guest and friend of the podcast, Majora, aka Cheyenne.
I want to be a zombie too.
All right, well, you're a zombie too. I'm Plague Spitter zombie this episode. All right. But yeah, we're talking about The Last of Us, as the title denotes. This show just started last week, and we decided that we were going to do a premiere episode on it. Essentially what we do with everything that we watch. So we did this for like Bleach, Chainsaw Man, everything that airs that we were into. We typically do a review of the first episode and give our projections of what we think is going to happen, because I feel like at the beginning of a season of any show, there's the most promise for things that you want to happen or things that you expect to happen or that type of thing. And then obviously we're almost never right, because how could you guess it unless you read the source material? But this is an adaptation based on a video game that is, from what I understand, one of the best video games ever created. I believe it did win Game of the Year, the first one. Really highly acclaimed game. And Cheyenne has actually played the game. Did you beat it?
Yeah. Oh hell yeah, man! I beat it on the hardest difficulty, I think.
Grounded, is that what it's
pretty
called?
fucking yeah, it's called Grounded actually. Yeah,
I heard about that.
But,
So real quick, I just want to say this is going to be a spoiler-free podcast, so do not worry about.
Oh wait, it is.
Yeah, like I don't want to talk about.
Interesting.
I don't want to talk about stuff that happens. Shut up. I don't want to talk about stuff that happens like at the end of the game.
Oh no, I know that. But
Yeah.
what about? Are we going to talk about everything that happened in episode 1?
Episode 1.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Okay, so there will be zero spoilers for anything that might happen episode 2 onward. And there's zero spoilers for the video game.
Okay,
if
yeah,
it
that
already
I
happened in
I
this
went
show.
in knowing that like completely.
But episode
Yeah.
1 1
Fair
is
game.
going to be spoiled.
Yeah.
My bad, guys. I pretty much figured that was the case.
Yeah, no, because I know.
Yeah,
some people
I
do
don't
a
want to tell you
spoiler.
I don't want to tell you guys a goddamn thing because I want you guys to experience it on your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely want to experience the whole thing on my own. And I know that there are people out there who are like, oh, wait till you see this. Like, you think you see something?
Wait till Goku comes in.
Listen, perfect example. I might have mentioned this before in the podcast, but around when I got into One Piece, this is like, I'm super deep in. Let's say I'm like, I think at the time I was at Skypia. I was like around Skypia before I looked at any One Piece content on the internet, right? And I was just fiending. You know when you into something new and you want to see content for it for some reason?
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to see One Piece content. And then so I found like a One Piece first arc review, like a review of the first arc of One Piece.
Sure.
Fucking Alvida and shit.
Early days.
And so I'm watching the review, and it's like a shitty review. It's like some girl, I think, just talking about, Alvida and stuff. And she's talking about it, and then out of nowhere, she goes, all right, I'm gonna just real quick spoilers for One Piece. And by spoilers for One Piece, I mean up till the time skip.
Do you like
So
a little
down to One
wave when you're
Piece.
done the spoilers? Do you like a little wave that
They
way
can't-
people can?
they can't
Well, they
see
might
me.
mute. They can mute.
They can't see me. The podcast is on Spotify. But if you want to subscribe to the Patreon, you can see the video version.
There it is on Patreon. Then. You'll do a little Patreon wave.
Anyway, I just won't say the spoiler. Anyway,
All right.
basically, they just spoiled a huge death that happens later in the show,
that's
like randomly.
that's
And they were
bad.
like,
I know exactly who it
crazy.
is because there's like one major death in One Piece.
Yeah, exactly.
They were
There's
like-
not that many. Like,
they were like, it's so weird to see Luffy all happy-go-lucky because where I'm at right now in One Piece, he's
Oh.
really sad and angry because this happened. And I was like, why would you include that
may
in
have
a
happened to me.
season 1 review? Like, what are
That
you talking
actually,
about?
I'm pretty sure that happened to me too. And the friend that did that to me, I think he actually died in real life. So that's a good thing. It was like
Yeah.
because he spoiled it for me, he died instead.
Yeah. He had a fucking
No,
comment.
he had to give up his life for that. No, but it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
But yeah, so that said, with The Last of Us, right? Like, imagine how crazy it would be if we're doing an episode 1 review and we're like, by the way, my cousin's uncle played the game, and at the end of it, Ellie becomes an alien.
Not Ellie the alien. Ellie the fucking alien. I'll say this. This show does a lot of things well. It reminds me of The Walking Dead a lot. And already it's off to a better start because it did something that The Walking Dead has never done, at least not where I stopped. I stopped watching The Walking Dead at a point, but it tells you where the outbreak came from in the first 5 minutes. So it opens. I think this is brilliant. The way the show opens is with a past interview with a scientist who explains how diseases and pandemics work. And it's so cool because right now we are currently in a global pandemic. So the show is right on time. And he's talking about how fungal infections have this thing where, one, there's no cure for them. Two, they can spread really, really fast through spores, airborne and shit like that. And the other thing he mentions is that certain types of fungal infections, they don't seek to kill, they seek to control. And he says this is evident in certain ones that control like small insects and things like that. But they only exist.
Like ants.
Yeah, they take control over the ant's brain and they make it hallucinate until it.
Did you guys watch videos on that or no?
I did not.
was literally watching videos on it like yesterday.
I didn't watch any videos on it, but I know that that's real. There's a
crazy, man.
I think there's something like that does exist in real life that affects humans. It's like a worm. It's like a parasite worm or something that you can get from swimming in like certain. I think you can get it from swimming. It's like I think it's like a parasite worm, not actually a worm, but it's like
whatever.
a little parasite thing. And
we ain't no damn scientists.
And the main way to get it is like in lakes or creeks and shit like that.
But it causes you to hallucinate. And so he's explaining all of the criteria of how it works. But he says right now the reason why we haven't been overrun by it is because the climate is not set up in a way where it can spread easily. And he said if the temperature of the world were to heat up per se, for as just an example of things that could cause it to spread, that could be disastrous, and in that event we would lose. And obviously we know also something that's happening in reality, and this is one of the things I think the Last of Us show does really well, and they probably do this in a video game too, but I never played the video game, so I can only speak for the show. But one of the things they do so well is that they keep on poking at reality. They say things like global warming basically without literally saying that term, and they say things like global pandemic, two things that are literally happening right now. And you can debate your grandmother on whether you believe the earth is actually heating up or not, but like, I don't, if you're a flat earther, just say that. But at the end of the day,
yeah, then you just know to chalk somebody off as a dumbass. Like, oh, he's a flat earther. Throw him in the corner.
There was a point in time when acid rain was a very big problem. And there were deniers of it. They were like, it's not caused by humans.
I don't even know what the fuck that is. Like, I don't even know what acid rain really is.
It's basically when our rain, like we had rain that was like legitimately, you couldn't like drink it or play it. Like
from
it was
like chemicals and shit going into the atmosphere.
And there was obviously big corporations, etc., that were saying it's not real, and that we didn't cause it. But anyway,
it's like, how the fuck else is it raining sulfur?
Like,
I don't know. You guys
eventually,
figure it out.
Eventually, humanity won, and we put things in place to stop acid
rain. And all
rain.
of a sudden, the rain stops, and they're like, "Well, ta-ha!"
And now we have people that don't even know it ever existed. But it was a really big problem in a very similar way to things like global warming, and it had the exact same issues where companies with an interest in whatever they were doing, and they're doing cause of the acid rain, they're saying it's not real, because they wanted to make more money. So I just think it's interesting that we've already been to this carnival. And it's just happening again, but nobody really learns from those things. So
yes. So The Last of Us, I think it already is off to a much better start than The Walking Dead, because where The Walking Dead does some things well, the first couple seasons of it were genuinely good. Like, I think it's one of the better shows I've watched over.
I think it's great.
Yeah, the first couple seasons are really good.
I don't think Kenny ever started it.
I think the issue with any show is that when it goes too long, it tends to end up getting bad, right? I think that most shows ever.
But, I mean, he wouldn't be wrong by thinking that, like it happens a lot. Like,
yes.
They just, something happens. I don't know what. It's like they don't have enough time to sit down and mull over the success that they already had. It's just season. Whereas like we were talking about like My Hero, those fucking breaks are the greatest things in humanity. Like, it's like, put your shonen on a break. People are still going to want to watch it.
I agree.
Just let the manga catch the fuck up.
I think that's one of the things that made the original Naruto series, like, as good as Naruto is.
There's hundreds of fillers, right?
Literally hundreds. Literally hundreds of fillers. And for me, that ruins the quality of somebody who wants to watch the anime straight through, because the filler for Naruto is very cringe. It's very, very cringe.
Don't they like play soccer and like it's just
he uses the Rasengan to make ramen, like stuff like that. It's just so
just goofy shit,
bullshit. But the problem is that it's when things get so popular and so big that they don't want to take any breaks. They rather release an episode every single week for ratings and money and stuff.
And
it just
I want to sell those DVDs, right? The DVDs where it's like 3 episodes of Naruto on a
Oh
DVD.
my god, I know.
Like that's what it's for.
I don't know if that's still
if I
a
make
thing.
less episodes, I sell less DVDs.
Dude, that was a thing in like the early. I think it's still a thing in Japan, but in the early 2000s, like or 2000, yeah, like 2004 or something, it'd be like 3 episodes of a fucking anime on a disc, and it's like that would be like a collection. Like, oh, maybe you get 6 episodes. It's like, yeah, but there's 250 fucking episodes, and like in Japan, they still package up the disc like that. Like it'll be a Blu-ray. It's like you get 3 episodes. It's 12 episodes total. Like, can I get all the episodes? Like, nah, man, we're making money, and people just buy it. Like, it's like, dude, fuck out of that.
That's what drives everything. And I don't know. I really just like that we know to a degree where this infection started and how everything went down. We don't. So episode 1, at least, you don't know exactly what happened. But you kind of you have an idea.
Just the equivalent of the game, I think what happens is, the intro, the HBO intro, it's the same goddamn song from the game, which is fucking awesome. So like instead of that TV show, which I think the show does it better, which is awesome. That you always want to say something like that. But like the intro with like the talk show, which I absolutely fucking love. I get off on shit like that. It's like really cool.
That brought me in because as someone who's never played the game and I was excited to watch the show just because I know a lot of people that played the game and said it was really, really good. The story was good. I was really excited to watch the show because I've heard some people say it should have just been a show. It would have been a better show than a game.
Oh, it would have.
And so the fact that a show is being made was like really cool. So anyway, we watched it, and that first 5 minutes with like the 60s interview, like that hooked me in. Like I was like, oh, I was just like hooked.
And
like,
it ends on such a somber note. He's like, we
lose. Like, it was good.
Yeah,
man. I was really into that.
We lose, and does this like little like cocky smile. Is like,
and then the main interviewer, he's like, all right, we're gonna go to break.
He's like, let's go to. We're gonna have to go to a break.
The way he says it is definitely in a saddened. Like he was all optimistic at first, like, oh well, of course we can.
Yeah, he's all chipper, and then the guy goes balls deep. He's like, okay, so this is what this means, and then he's like, we're gonna have to go to a commercial and get this guy off the stage.
Yeah, it's really good. I like that they're kind of threatening us. They're threatening reality with this is a possibility of something that could really happen to us because it literally is taking place in our time. Like the show goes after that interview, it goes into 2003, and then it does a time skip 20 years. So it takes place in 2023, which is so dope because
so I think the game happens in 2013 and it takes place in 2033. But also just to say what I was going to say is that so the intro, it's basically the exact HBO intro, but in the video game they do that intro and then you kind of hear like newscast about like oh the virus and all that. So that's kind of how you figure it out. It's not nearly as effective as that talk show.
Okay, I get what you mean. So they kind of give it to you
200 of blah blah blah, just shit like that, like whatever.
I actually can't wait for flashbacks because the 20-year time skip is cool because you just see how the world is and it's post-apocalyptic as fuck. Like the cities are all destroyed. They look insane. They look like they've been bombed. And then they have all of these zones that they kind of quarantine people in. Quarantine zones, literally what they're called. And I like that it's just 20 years in the future, so you just have to accept this is what reality is, but you don't know exactly how we got to this point yet. And I think they're going to do a lot of flashbacks to slowly show you how did we get to a point where the government has literally like dictated how people have to live their lives. And now we're trading instead of money, because money doesn't really mean anything in a post-apocalyptic world. Usually you just have these ration tickets and stuff like that. And everything is different. I don't even know what quality of life would be like, but I'll say as someone who watches a lot of zombie content, and I personally would not survive this shit at all. If you ever want to see who I really am as a person, just look at me without Wi-Fi for maybe 3 minutes.
Oh man, I know, right?
I become a zombie for real. Like I'm the fucking.
It's like an addict. We're all just internet addicts. Like, come on, man, I need to check my thing. It's like, what thing that doesn't exist,
bro?
There's no thing to check. Email doesn't exist.
There was a day or week or something where Instagram and Facebook just weren't working at all. Like they just did not work. And every time you would refresh them, your feed would just start from the same thing that you saw already. So it would just keep showing you the exact same content from the top to the bottom. It would be in the same order and everything, which is like a nightmare. It was like fucking genjutsu. And that week while they were broke literally ruined not only me, because I'm not afraid to admit I go on social media often, but like everyone else was just complaining, but we couldn't even see each other's complaints because it would never show new content.
Man, everybody yelling. For me, it's like I gotta check like Reddit
Yeah.
It's mainly Reddit for me, but I think that's probably.
I like
I like
Twitter. I like
checking.
Reddit.
But yeah,
I
like
like checking
sometimes
Reddit
Twitter
because
might
like
also alright.
there's just endless shit to check and read. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I never
Like
knew how
something
to.
you want to read.
I never know how to get into new communities on Reddit though. Like I never search r
Same.
like big booty girls or whatever. Like I don't know how to get into a new community.
Oh,
They
I
don't
do.
really. Oh god.
Every
Oh, I do.
culture of every subreddit is different, and a lot of them are just dog shit. Like it's like this is just memes only. It's like it could be like
Yeah.
The Last of Us for an example. Like it could literally it's just go like here's dog
Well,
shit memes forever.
Thank God,
and
no,
that's
but
it.
thank God those subreddits exist because they make the regular Last of Us say
Yes.
Reddit a better place because they're like,
Well, no, but
there's
that
a Last
could
of Us.
be the Last of Us official subreddit or whatever, because like it's only a matter of whoever creates it first, and whoever creates the
Yeah.
subreddit first creates the culture of it.
But
So it's like
what's cool is that people like, for example, I know this isn't about The Last of Us, and anyway, real quick, the Breath of the Wild subreddit. There's two of them. There's one that's literally called Breath of the Wild, and there's one that's called BOTW. What's crazy is that BOTW, I forget what it stood for, but that acronym stood for something
Oh
else.
no.
But when Breath of the Wild came out, everybody went to r/BOTW, and we're just talking about Breath of the Wild in there so much that it overrun the subreddit, and it just became a Breath of the Wild subreddit.
That is
The
wild.
moderator was just like, well, fine. And it was like, here you go. And
You
it just
guys can
became
have
a
it.
Zelda subreddit. Like,
crazy.
That's wild.
insane.
But yeah, I can't survive without certain things. Also, I don't think I want to. Like, sure, I might be able to survive the initial.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I might be able to survive the initial outbreak or whatever, but I don't really think I want to live in a world that looks as shitty as the one that Joel and friends live in. It just does not look like the world for me, where you're standing in line waiting to trade your military, your fucking ration coupons in for like a slice of bread and it has mold on it. You got to pick the mold out, and then you don't really have TV or Wi-Fi or internet.
No, and all you maybe have is like a fucking record player or something. Like,
yeah, like some bullshit like that. Electricity is a scarce thing. Like it's probably cold because how gas companies don't exist anymore. Just so many things bother me. You have to wear all of your clothes on your person. Like your body just has to have every piece of clothing that you own has to be
like
on
how
you.
like you like not just you but anybody like they sleep in a certain way. It's like, oh, I don't have my front pillow. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah, I need my fucking front pillow, the pillow that goes between my legs.
Is Fraser frozen?
Can you hear me?
He's frozen for me. Hopefully I'm not. Cheyenne, can you hear me? Oh, I'm fucked. Hi, OBS. I mean, not OBS.
I can
Hi,
hear
Patreon.
you.
I don't know what's happening.
I think The Last of Us got him. I think it's there. He is. There he is, dude. We were just talking about if the internet cut off and shit. What happened?
I don't know.
Fraser started laughing, and
man.
Fraser laughed, and his screen freezed. I was like, "Oh, Fraser!" I literally was like, "Fraser, you're messing up or whatever." And then I didn't hear Cheyenne, and I was like, "Am I messing up? Hey, Cheyenne, am I messing up?" And then you didn't answer, and I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, hi, Patreon. Listen, so I'm fucking up right now. You guys are getting
the crazy part is I heard every single thing you said, so my audio is gonna have you knowing that I guess got zombified for a second. I don't know what just went down.
And you just froze. It was you were just smiling. You had like this great glorious smile going. Yes. No, it wasn't even creepy. It was just like oh, look at that happy boy right there.
I think all frozen smiles are creepy personally. If you freeze,
depends how long you look at it. I think
eventually
like that movie Smile.
Oh,
Smile. It's pretty good.
I haven't seen that movie, but I hate taking pictures. I hate the expectation to smile in pictures.
I just don't do it anymore. I just don't.
I don't either. I fucking almost every picture that you look at from me after like I've reached the age of having a brain, I just give the people's eyebrow. I just give the people's eyebrow. I hit the rock on them, and then if you don't like it, fuck you. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
that's my smile.
But yeah, I agree with what Cheyenne was saying before we had our little freeze moment. I just need certain things to exist at this point. Like I'm so fucking bougie, I guess. But I just need the temperature in my room to be a certain degree.
Say it, dude. I know.
Like,
I know.
I need my pillow to be a certain cold. There's just too many things that I need. I need to wake up and be able to go on YouTube and like watch certain podcasts and stuff. It's just I'm used to a certain quality of life, and I think it's horrible for people who lived in a world pre-apocalyptic and they knew what it was like to then go to a post-apocalyptic world. That would be torture for me, as opposed to the babies who were born in that world.
They don't even know what they're missing.
They don't even know.
You know
what it was like.
I know exactly what would happen with all three of us. We would just start reading books. Like we'd be like, yo,
bro,
like Harry
I'm dying.
Potter. But it's just like what we would do. It's what we would do, though.
So,
it's like
Cheyenne,
I know it's what we would do.
All right, I'm telling
We'd
you this
all
now.
just start reading Harry Potter.
No, the answer is no. So for me, I remember watching this episode, right? And you see the disabled old lady, and the guy is feeding her like mashed potatoes through her fucking feeding tube or whatever.
The little bready.
Yeah, he's like stuffing her fucking face. He's like overstuffing her face with food as she's disabled. And I was like, okay, that's somebody's grandma on the lawn. She's getting some air. Son's feeding her mashed potatoes or bread or whatever. No big deal. She literally can't move on her own. I've seen that in real life. Not a big deal. Later in the episode, when the outbreak happens and you start to see her literally running and lunging across the fucking kitchen, I realized that there's no world where I would survive where things that could not move at all, like this lady could not move at all. She could not move her limbs whatsoever. She is now running and lunging better than I could, and I am black and young. There's no way I'm surviving. There's no way where I'm surviving a world like that. I'm just not. There's no way.
So me and Fraser were typing to each other in Discord, and he said like, yeah, man, I'm black and young, and when I was typing to him, I said most importantly black though. That really gives him the extra boost. Being black,
bro. She was jumping. I can't lunge I cannot lunge on my own. Like I can't do it. So when I saw that, I said, oh yeah, this. So in The Walking Dead, the zombies are pretty shitty because they literally are the Walking Dead. If they were the Running Dead, I wouldn't survive that either. But I think I would do pretty decently in The Walking Dead because they don't move quickly. The only thing I don't like is that in the show, they're really inconsistent because they don't make noise whenever they want to kill someone in the show. They kind of just like are silent assassins. And as soon as someone turns around, there's a zombie right behind them and it bites them instantly. Like tier zero.
Not realistic.
Not realistic. But then
frame one bite.
When you see them in the show and they're from afar, they make so much noise. Like, they just kind of make like a lot of brains noise, like brains. They just kind of do that the whole time. But for some reason,
literally are like walking.
They'll just completely vanish until they're like right behind somebody. Like it would just never happen. Like you would never just be like, and it's like, it's one of those things
about them vanishing, Kenny.
I never watched The Walking Dead normally. I've only ever seen it because I was at someone else's house and it was on.
Yeah.
And without fail, like that shit would happen. Like I remember one time I was at Fraser's house and they had it on.
Yeah.
And at this point, at this point, you guys were watching it just because like you had already seen so many episodes and you were like kind of laughing at it. But there was an episode that was on and there was like a kid, like I swear he was like on a roof or something, and it was empty. Like the skyline was empty, the horizon was empty. There wasn't a fucking zombie in sight. And then like a scene later, they were surrounded by zombies, and I was like, "What the fuck happened? Like, did they get airdropped in? Like, where did they come from?"
Not them getting airdropped.
You know what would be cool as fuck? This would be a cool angle to take for a zombie show. Not that we're even on that topic, but like it would be cool from the beginning of the episode, you follow a zombie that's going to bite somebody, and like occasionally you would just check in on the positioning of that zombie, and it would be like from their perspective. That could actually be kind of cool.
That'd be cool.
I like that.
That'd be a cool like one-off episode, not the whole series.
You can only do that once. Oh yeah, you only do that for like an episode. That's it, and then that's over.
I would like to see it from the eyesight. Like you know how
it would be like from their eyesight. It'd be like maybe fucked up a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
it'd be weird looking for them, and they would see something.
It would be done in a way that you really know where that zombie's at, and he's not going to surprise anybody. Like you see him gradually make his position over there, and he's like the one that's in front of the pack that gets the bite.
It would also be really cool context to know what they see, because right now a big part of The Last of Us, to get back on topic a little bit, a big part of The Last of Us is that in episode 1 at least, we don't really know how they function yet because they just started. Yeah. So when I saw Joel carrying his daughter and the zombies are eating a person, right? There's a bunch of them eating a person. They don't really react to him immediately, and then one of them does, but the rest of them continue doing what they were doing. So I don't know if they have this kind of like eyesight thing going on. I don't know if they smell us, if they can hear us a certain way, if we look a certain way to them that's different from the ones who are already infected, because obviously they're not tearing each other apart, despite the fact that everyone is human to begin with. They don't go after humans, and apparently not dogs right now either. So certain things are still left a mystery. I don't really know how they work. Where in The Walking Dead, for example, I know how The Walking Dead zombies work. If you cover yourself in their guts, they literally can't see you anymore. you become invisible. Like, oh, where did he go? Oh, I have no
it's a
idea. Like,
little
you could be
goofy.
standing right next to them. Literally, you could bump into them actually, and they won't even react to you because you're covered in their
Established pretty
guts.
early on. It's like season 1 they established that too.
It is,
Like
and
like
then
episode 4.
and then it rains, and they're like,
Oh
"Oh fuck!"
yeah, that's
Remember,
right.
they're literally walking through a
Yeah.
horde of zombies covered in zombie guts to get through it,
They had
and
like
then
rain jackets on.
it just randomly
with
starts
stuff on
raining,
it.
and like, oh, okay, well, I guess
You know,
we're
one
fucked
thing
now.
I have to like just I have to just let go of it, and I have to like accept it. Like whenever people are like, "Oh, it's a zombie show," there's always that like dorky little smarmy asshole part of me. Like they're actually not zombies; it's a cordyceps infection. And it's like
Yeah.
I just have to let it go, and like it's a goddamn zombie show.
I mean, that's
like I just have to admit it. Like it's a
different
fucking zombie show.
There's different kinds of zombies, but they are 100%
But
zombie.
I always feel like it's a step above. But like I just have to accept it. It's a
because
goddamn
I think the
zombie.
definition of a zombie is basically what's happening to humanity in The Last of Us. It doesn't need to be an undead person.
Yeah, they're fucking zombies.
Yeah, if you no longer have control
But,
over your own body and your body is also decaying at the same time, like you are a fucking zombie. I don't know what to tell you. Like I know that it's called the cordyceps infection.
Yeah,
because I watched a lot of YouTube videos on The Last of Us, but I'm never going to use the cordyceps thing in reality because I never played the game.
Yeah,
and that word is pretentious as fuck. Like I don't even know what it really means. I'm not. Again,
right.
we're not scientists.
We're not scientists. Yeah,
but yeah, the show does a lot of things well. It does a lot of things better than The Walking Dead. Not to say The Walking Dead is completely trash because it was really good the first 4 seasons or something. But I think that my issue, and I do want to talk about this a bit because The Walking Dead is kind of the precedent for zombie shows being good. It was kind of for me. I don't know if there's another one, but for me, it was the first good zombie show that ever was created.
I mean, I think so too. Like I see, it's like people do say it's bad. Like I don't know. I still have a soft spot. I forget how far I got, but I think of course there's some lulls, but I think in general consistency, I think it's a really really good show.
I cried watching The Walking Dead multiple times. There are multiple deaths or things that happen during that show. For example, when Lori dies, the main character Rick's wife.
We gotta go into like spoilers, even though it's been a couple years.
Fuck
gotta
it.
Like
whatever. The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So, I there were just points in that show that really
seems good.
made me. The actor Rick Grimes.
He's good, man. He's fucking
so good. He's also British, but you can't tell. At least I couldn't.
Yeah, you can never tell.
Oh, so good. Like he.
You know, Lincoln is a stage name. His last name is Clutterbuck.
What?
His last name's it's Andrew Clutterbuck. That's his. That so he uses a stage random. Name because it's a random ass name. Yeah.
But
that scene's nuts.
Can't make it in Hollywood with that name.
No.
There's a lot of good scenes, man.
There's a lot of emotional stuff. So what I used to say, and this is something that I think I heard somewhere else, but I repeated it so often that I basically made it mine. But The Walking Dead could essentially just be called people living in hard times and then zombies appear. Like that is literally what the show is. It got to the point where
you can reduce it to a couple things. It's like they live together, then the zombies approach, and then they get pushed off, and then they get like they make a group again, and it's like that happens a lot, and like it's kind of it's like it sucks because like I'm not sure what the alternative really could be.
I guess
what's important is for things to have goals, right? So I haven't seen The Walking Dead, but I've heard this sentiment a lot. I've heard a lot about it. From what I understand, this happens a lot where basically the goal of that show is like they always form like a group of community to like live and just survive.
Yep.
But it's not like they have like an ongoing goal to actually achieve something, right? And it's a problem that, for example, I've talked about being, an anime nerd or whatever, but it's like a problem when you compare things like Bleach, which Bleach episode coming soon. Bleach is really fun.
Yeah.
But it's a problem when you compare like Ichigo's motivations and Bleach to things like Naruto or One Piece, just to keep it in the big three. Both Naruto and Luffy have a goal, like they have a thing they're striving for. So everything they do is moving toward a thing that they can't do yet that they need to do in the future to become Hokage or to become the Pirate King. Ichigo doesn't have a goal. He's just, bad guys attacked and kidnapped my friend, and I have to go get them.
Yes.
And that works for a season. For a season, it's awesome. But as the show goes on, that happens again and again. And it's always just the bad guys have goals, and I just react. I'm just a cop. Ichigo's just a cop. Like, he basically
is. He really is.
Yo,
it's like a fucking
just a cop is crazy.
Fucking Spectre cop. He really is.
Yo.
He just reacts to the bad guys' goals. And anyway, the point that I'm getting to is like
that's so true though.
That's how you make, I think, a show good. Like, for example, The Last of Us right now, as of right now, and it might extend further, it feels like there's a specific goal. It's not Joel and Ellie just surviving for the rest of their life. Joel needs to go to this place to find his friend, and then Ellie, as we know from episode 1, as we can infer, is completely immune to the virus.
Yeah.
And so she's supposed to go somewhere so they can maybe recreate a cure.
Yep.
We find this out sort of in the episode. It's not explicitly said, but it's basically said.
Yeah.
So anyway, this show is probably going to turn into Joel figuring out that Ellie is immune, and until like the show or the series has a goal for them to go somewhere, and it's not just them forming a community and surviving forever. They already did that for 20 years. They skipped it.
Yeah.
They skipped the whole surviving.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, The Walking Dead doesn't
that's
have
kind of over.
It doesn't have too much talk of a cure or fixing the world. In fact,
They did during season 1. Remember
season 1,
that?
yeah, they were
And then
trying
it was
to go to,
never again. It was
they were
never
trying to
again.
go somewhere like Georgia or something.
I even remember the guy's name. They wanted to go to the CDC, and there was a doctor named Dr. Jenner. I don't know how the fuck I remember that.
Oh yeah.
And then it was like this doctor dude, and they talked a little bit about it, and they showed like this is what happens when you reanimate, and it was like his wife, the doctor's wife, and then never again.
They
That
never
was, like,
went
the
back to
last-
it. But you
they
know
never
what I
went
will
back
say
it.
to kind of play devil's advocate and defend The Walking Dead a little bit. If you want to watch a show with just people living in fucked up times, and that is the show, right? You just want to see a fucked up reality. Like, look at this fucking kid. He's throwing up again. Look at him. He's throwing up. Like, you just want to watch like fucked up things. The Walking Dead is perfect for watching just a fucked up reality and with no actual goal. So what I'm saying is a world that just doesn't have Wi-Fi and electricity all the time and gas all the time. If you just want to watch that, it's perfect for that, because that is ultimately what they're doing. They have to hunt for food again.
You're bringing it back to the Wi-Fi. He loves that Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you, you were like, oh yeah, we'd be reading books. You'd be reading books. I would not. I would just decide that, you know
I'd
what,
get
guys?
you into some. I'll like get this kid a Harry
No,
Potter.
Here's the thing, though.
I would go get
Everybody
sports.
gets a Harry Potter
I
from
would
me
just
for
go get
It's
Christmas.
sports.
interesting. It's interesting in that situation because it's like, where would you even find books, right? Now you could say the library, but for example, right now
It's
the
all
way we
burned down.
consume content is the internet. So like I can read any book I want, and then you say like, oh, if the internet goes out, I'll just read books. But like I don't have books right now.
Yeah,
I gotta go
I
get
just
them.
don't have books.
And then like you can
know
go to
what
the
my books are?
library.
They're on my fucking iPhone. I have books.
Yeah.
They're iBooks. I have.
You
them
know
on
what
my
we would
phone.
have to get, guys? We'd have to get a fucking There's some solar power chargers for shit. We'd have to get like a
Yeah.
solar power charger
But
and just protect the fuck out of it. Hope it
it's
never
crazy because
decays.
libraries would be probably just like overrun because they seem fortifiable.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, but on top of that, like eventually, people are gonna burn books for warmth and shit. Like you're not gonna have books.
Burning books for warmth sounds so
Uh,
ignorant. That's
It sounds so depressing, doesn't it? So goddamn
and that's
depressing.
That's why I don't want to live in this kind of world. I've already
Like
accepted.
Frasier, I got you those Harry Potters, man. He's like, I'm trying to stay warm, man.
Do you know I am very close to already unaliving myself if this world changes anymore? Like there was a point during the pandemic where I was like, if this world gets any worse, I'm already ready to check
The things
out.
that
Like,
do
I
it for
am-
me, it's like flat earthers. Like some of
Yeah.
that gets me where I'm like, I don't want to live on this fucking earth. People think it's flat.
When the
Like,
pandemic was happening in 2020, I was already ready to be like, all right, well, I'm checking out soon. Like if you guys decided you're gonna burn, remember when the cities were burning
Fucking
down and
this up.
shit? I was like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready to go. So it doesn't take much for me to decide that I want to check out. Like I'm not
Frasier's
I-
like, you guys let me know when it's time. I'll do it.
like I'm not
But-
long for this world, basically. I just feel like if you take away certain quality of life things that I'm used to, I've grown accustomed to. For example, I'm an asthmatic. A lot of you probably know that I breathe really heavy through my mouth. I'm a mouth breather. And I just imagine asthmatics will have it really, really bad, if not just straight up die out in a world where we can't reproduce inhalers en masse. Like I need an inhaler.
Yeah.
A couple times a year, I need to take my inhaler. Like I just get.
Imagine you trying to
asthma attack.
run from a zombie. Like you're
I can't.
just gonna get caught, become a zombie, and then
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I would just become one. I would get spored up. I would just go and be like, "Yo, bro, just like do me now."
Spore it up.
Yeah, just spore me up. And so yeah, that old lady with the things coming out of her mouth. If I was the little black girl and I saw that, I would not let the old lady kill me because of shock. Like I would run, obviously. But after enough running and realizing that so much of the world is like that, I would give up. I would just be like, I'm
One thing
good
I
with this.
love how quick Joel is like, we need to get to Mexico or something. Like he saw the old lady once. He's like, yeah, this is over. Like we need to get the fuck out of here.
getting the fuck out of here.
Well, he's
Like, yeah,
ex-military,
I know.
which I think is really cool. That it's kind of subtle.
That might be Tommy's truck, but only because Tommy drove it, and on the back it said like Desert Storm veteran.
It
or
said
something.
Desert
So, like,
Storm.
I think that might be Tommy's truck, but I'm not sure.
What I'm gonna say,
truck.
because I don't know for sure. Again, I actually did not watch any content that tells me where the actual story is going. Like I'm genuinely serious about that. I don't know. Like for example, there's this theory I have that this is going to end really bad. Like the spoiler alert, Hunger Games. The whole point of the Hunger Games is that like Katniss Everdeen, she volunteered as tribute because her little sister got chosen to play in the Hunger Games, and she's like, "Fuck that! I'm not letting my little sister do this. I will put my life on the line." And I'll do it. And so the entire series of the Hunger Games is her basically trading her life for her sisters. And at the very end of the Hunger Games, the last thing that happens in the book, like the last fucking thing, is her little sister gets blown to smithereens. So the entire show or movie or book or whatever is amazing. And it's all about Katniss protecting her little sister. And she made the sacrifice in the first book, first chapter. Like literally the first chapter is Katniss protecting her sister. And then the end of the entire series is her sister getting blown the fuck up and killed. And Katniss has to live on knowing that. And she has PTSD after that. They do like a little time skip where she ends up with the guy Peeta. They live not happily ever after because she wakes up out of the middle of her sleep screaming, and that's the end of her life. Like not the end, but the quality of her life is awful. So what I'm saying all of this to say, I'm wondering if this is going to be a sad story where the little girl Elle gets taken all the way to where she needs to be, and in the very end, a human person, like not even a zombie, because it's never the zombies that are the problem in these worlds. It's always even in The Walking Dead, it's always the fucking people. And in the Hunger Games, it was the government. They killed Katniss's sister for a specific reason because Katniss was the Mockingjay, she was the symbol of peace and all of this stuff, and they wanted to basically neutralize her and get her hurt any way they could. So the government decided to literally kill her sister because they knew that was the most important thing in the world to her. So they killed her sister, even though it's really fucked up. It's a really fucked up ending. It's really dark. Suzanne Collins, I love her work. But I'm wondering if you have this little girl, Elle, who you're going to get attached to over time. She's like this little firecracker. She has a lot of spunk, and she's just like really angsty, teenage angst. And she's all like, "I'll fucking cut you. I'll kill you. I'll shoot you." She'll do everything. But then I'm wondering if at the very end, they finally get to their location. And then a regular human person's like, "I like the way the world is. I'm powerful in this world. I was shitty."
Yeah, I think there's people like that. I think I've always liked characters like that a little bit, where like they're always like this zombie world's kind of cool.
Yeah.
If I remember, I think Glenn may have said that in The Walking Dead. He's like, what did you used to be? He's like, I used to be a pizza boy. This is kind of sweet.
Yeah, some people.
I'm getting some pussy and stuff.
I think that's like, a real thing, though. There were 100.
Yeah, I think so too.
8 billion people on the planet now.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be somebody like that, right?
There are people who are like, I was a loser. Look at all the isekai anime that are out now, and it's like I got reincarnated to suck on titties 3 times. Like there's a bunch of those kind of anime where people are like, I was a fucking loser in my last life. I was literally beating my shit 3 times a day, and now I'm getting real life titties. So yeah, there's people who would absolutely love the world.
Like it too much. I think those people are the real scary people, and they'll like fight to defend that world.
Yes.
Like not only do they like it, they'll like fight to like, we'll never go back to normal. I love these titties.
And so if you had a cure or a kid who had the cure, they would 100% be threatened.
Stop that or something.
And they say this in episode 1, right? They say the one girl, she said, she's like one of the leads of the Fireflies. She says, if they find out what you are, like, don't tell anybody this, but if they find out what you are, your life will be in danger. And she says that because people, I'm assuming, I can only assume based on the tone of it, but like there are people who don't want this to change.
Yeah, not only that, like there's both sides. There's people that don't want this to change, probably that are relishing in what they have and their newfound power or whatever power they have, and so they would kill her just because they don't want a cure. But then on the other end, maybe the people that she's being sent to, Marlene knows them and trusts them and knows that they'll have some sort of human, like ethical decency, whereas like somebody else that really wants the cure and that also wants to maybe become the new power, like they'll essentially just use her with no care for Ellie herself as a person, just like do whatever they can to her, torture her basically to get a cure out of her, and then they become like the new leader of the world.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
Like, have you guys ever seen Children of Men or no?
I've never seen it.
It's one of my all-time favorite movies. It's funny because I watched it right before The Last of Us on HBO came out, but it's kind of the same exact premise. Like if you watch, it's one of the greatest fucking movies ever, but it's kind of like the same premise. It's like there's somebody that's so special like that. Like she's one in a bajillion, right? Like there's people that, like you guys said, like they'll either want to kill her or like maybe they'll. But I think the scarier thing almost is like to use that person to push some sort of agenda. Like I'm gonna kidnap this person and I'm a terrorist or just some weird shit like that. Like I think that's like scarier almost.
Yeah,
than,
I
like,
think you could hold that person as like we have the vaccine, we have the cure.
Yeah, and that could become so politicized.
And we're the only country that
crazy.
has the cure / vaccine. So now we're going to use it as a political power.
Dude,
point.
almost like the Death Note spinoff. Do you guys remember the Death Note spinoff? It was like one of the recent chapters that came out like 10 years ago or something, or like 5 years ago.
What happened?
Where like it's basically like it's someone with Trump, where it's like Japan basically owned the Death Note and it became like really global, really fast. Like it was like
because they knew what happened when the original Death Note happened with Yagami Light. And so there was already a precedent for the Death Note existing. It's not a secret
it's
to
like
society.
We'll pay like trillions of dollars for it, you know?
I really enjoyed that. But I do think that this show does a lot of things well. And I guess for me, like in a world where the zombies are fast and they're not literally walking, I don't like anything like that. So I've watched a lot of zombie stuff. World War Z, I don't know if you've ever seen that. 28 Days Later.
World War Z kind of sucks a little bit. 28 Days Later is great, I think, until the very, very end when the military finds them. I think. Yeah, that movie is really good.
World War Z though is very similar to what's happening in The Last of Us in a sense that the rate of change between being a human and being a fucking murdering zombie person that runs at you and lunges at you, it's really quick how it changes in that. And I think that movie starts off. Was it Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt? I forget who's the man.
Brad Pitt, I think.
They're the same person.
Yeah, they are the same. But like, it starts off where they're just kind of in traffic, and then shit just pops off instantly, and people just start getting turned. Like they get bit in front of them, and they turn almost instantly. And then I like that. I actually paused my TV at this point, but in The Last of Us, when they bring in that one child patient 20 years later. It's pretty much before you even see Joel again 20 years down the road. But they bring in this one child who collapsed outside of the quarantine zone. They bring him in and they're talking to him and they're like, "Hey, buddy, how'd you get that mark on your leg?" And he's like, "I don't really remember." And they're like, "Oh, that's fine. We're going to get you some toys and a hot meal and a
cotton candy.
We're going to get you cotton candy and you ever seen Dragon Ball Z, kid? We're going to show you Dragon Ball Z." So they're like
DBZ in here.
They're talking to the kid, and then some guy comes up from behind and puts this thing up to his neck that looks like a fucking TI-83 calculator, and it lights up red. And as the guy's doing that scan, the kid is looking up at posters, and one of the posters says, "Rate of infection, how fast you change." And it shows 5 to 15 minutes, anything that's on your head or face. So if you get bit or touched, I guess, and those parts of your body, if it's on your head or face, it's a 5 to 15 minutes before you become an actual zombified person. And then it says like if you get a bite around your leg area or something like that, it's several hours that it could take, like your toes, your feet, your thigh. It could take several hours. And then there's like one more spot and it takes like 1 to 2 hours, depending on like if it's your abdomen or your arms or something. Right. So they give you 3 different locations, and the rate of infection and how fast you change into a zombie depends on where the infection started. And I think I paused it because I said, oh shit, this is going to be really important to know, because people that I care about in this show, I'm sure, will get infected at some point, and it'll be like, bro, just go on without me or kill me now. You know, I'm going to change. I don't want to become that. You know how people are in those zombies. It's always that one person that gets bit, and you don't know that they're bit because there'll be like there'll be a scuffle. Like there'll be a scuffle where they get overrun by a bunch of them. They'll beat all of them or they'll get away.
Right. They do that so many times.
They do it right. They'll all get away successfully, but then they'll turn around and Joel or somebody will be behind them just staring at their arm. And be like, no.
And everyone knows.
No, not you.
So when there's like a police officer, like Fedra lady talking to that little boy, I actually fully believed her. Like,
me too.
I didn't know.
I did not.
She was so convincing, man. I was like, wow, this lady must be like a psychiatrist or some shit. Because she was like so convincing to me. Even though it turned red, I was like, I don't remember what color it is in the game. Like, I don't know.
So
and then
I thought red maybe turned red, and I was like, red.
She was so
dead.
convincing.
Red means
though.
Dead.
This lady had like a warmth to her.
She did.
And I was like, God damn,
lady. So that comes with that.
She was just so motherly, and I was like, God damn, like I believed her.
Had the same experience as you, Cheyenne. I thought and it's because I won't say I wasn't paying attention, because I was. When I watched it last Sunday, I turned off every light in my apartment. Like, literally, it was pitch black, and the only light source in the entire house was the TV. And I was fully paying attention, but I thought for some strange reason that red was a good thing. I don't know why.
Same. I'll tell you why. It's because she was like such a lovely lady. She was so nice. Like,
she was.
She wasn't mean. She was just like, yeah, like it's gonna, you're safe now, and like
I bought into red being a good thing. So when the kid got scanned and it was red, I was like, oh, that's good. That means that you're not reactive. You're not.
If she didn't say a word, like that's what I was thinking. Like, if she didn't say a word, I probably would have been like, oh, that kid's fucked. But she was so believable that I was like, oh my god, like this kid's lucky as fuck. And then you know what I'll say? You see Joel pull like the kid out of the back of a fucking truck and throw him in a fire pit.
That was his reintroduction.
I was like, oh, okay. So
what were you gonna say, Kenny?
And that was supposed to be the end of episode 1, by the way, when he does that. But they decided to
make it longer,
speed things up a little bit. Yeah.
Oh. Well, side note, I'll just say that I loved how long the episode was.
Same, hour and 30 minutes for an intro is amazing.
I almost wish it was longer. Like, I was...
Yeah, I mean, it was great, though. But I wanted to say that on the note of, like, the rate of infection, I love that it takes long, because the idea is that it's a fungus that essentially takes control of your brain. And so you getting bit in the head, it happening faster there makes sense. And then, like, in the leg, the fungal infection has to travel through your body, right? Yeah. I do wonder... because it doesn't seem like they do this, because like they just killed the kid, but I guess they don't know how long the kid. I guess they don't know how long. But if you get hit in your leg and like it happens at that moment, if I cut their leg off, I wonder if they're fine.
Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they do that a couple times in The Walking Dead, where they'll like try to do that, and it actually multiple times in the comic. I think it works.
Yeah, and
one thing you guys should probably know. I think I don't know like where it is with this. I think so in it can be airborne in the game, and I think they're not doing that on the show. Oh, not 100% on that.
I think they. It's weird. I heard you say that before.
Somewhere that they're not going to. Bill was saying that like maybe they won't do it, but I was like, oh, surely they're going to do it. But I think they're not going to do it. I think it won't be airborne. I think I read it somewhere.
It might be one of those things where it's like, oh,
later
you thought it was like this, but it's like this.
Yeah, it might be like that.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
I really.
But what they would do in the game is they would have gas masks in areas that are like high concentration of maybe like spores or things like that.
I will say this. I think that the fact that it's airborne in a game is wild. The airborne is too much. And
I don't see it like in the game. It doesn't really make full sense either, because it's like I smell spores. I better put my mask on. By that point, you're already fucked.
Yeah.
So it's like somehow in the game through like osmosis, they would like know when they're coming near a spore zone. They're like, oh, this like maybe this apartment building has spores in it, and so they would like always know. And it's like. It's a video game and you're just playing it, so you're like, oh, it's fine, whatever. But on an HBO show, that shit's not gonna fly. Like, I
wonder how they'll address that type of thing. Like, that's a big difference, though. Something being airborne and something not being airborne is
it's like massive. Yeah. It's massive difference. Like,
I do think though, and if they sell it right, it doesn't matter if they don't make it airborne. But I do think it's still going to be airborne because of the little 60s interview at the start, and them talking about
I gotta rewatch it again.
I'm pretty sure he says that like the fungal spores and like it being airborne.
Well, if he says that, well then it's fucking airborne. But like, if I don't remember word by word, but I know I watched. I don't remember it already like 3 times. Also, another thing. So I watched a video. I wish I could say, oh yeah, I thought of this myself. It didn't even occur to me. So I was watching like maybe like a review or two. I really don't like to get other people's opinions on things until I'm like fully all the way done.
Yeah.
But I think there's a theory going around that like at least in Joel's area in the beginning that it was spread via bread. And the reason being is that there's like 4 or 5 times that Sarah and Joel and Tommy don't eat bread. So it's like they get offered the biscuits or whatever, and Joel goes, oh, I'm on Atkins, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tommy wants pancakes because pancakes are supposed to be Joel's breakfast dinner or breakfast birthday thing. They don't get pancakes because there's like, we just don't have fucking pancakes.
Yeah.
The raisin cookies, they get offered raisin cookies. There's no she's like, I don't really want the raisin cookies.
Yeah, I remember that because she thought it was chocolate chip, and then
Joel's supposed to bring home a cake, and Joel they don't bring on the cake. He forgets the cake. So that's like 4 or
Man,
5
people are
things.
insane.
That's a lot
The
of shit though.
internet,
And it's so
I
subtle
would
the way
never.
they address
I
all
would
these things.
never.
Same. I didn't get there at all.
What's
But
What's
that's
cool too is
4
that
fucking
like,
things, and they're all bread related, and they every single time they turn it down.
and we know fungus and shit can travel through bread like
Oh
already in real
yeah.
life, dude. I'll never forget one time I ate like a coffee cake, and you couldn't even tell, like, looking at the coffee cake. If you
You
just
tell
like
it was
looked at
moldy.
it, you couldn't tell there was anything wrong with it, like initially. So like I bit it, and
This is about to gross me the fuck out.
as I was chewing it, it grossed me out.
Oh
As I was
God,
chewing
I'm
it,
already grossed out.
I was able to like taste the difference, and it was like weird. And I was like, I started gagging, and I swallowed like a piece of it, and then like I threw it up, like spit it out, and then like I went and like hyper examined the other coffee cake, and
Ugh.
like you could barely see it, like the fuzz on it, but like it matched the color of the coffee cake
Yeah.
naturally, and it was
Yeah,
like
because they had
crazy.
that look. They had
And
that look.
I went through the rest of the day Googling like,
Mold and
food
shit.
poisoning and
Yeah.
fungus and everything,
Yeah.
and like trying to force myself to throw up, like,
Yo,
and I just
so
like,
gross.
I think I told Kenny
yeah,
a story just really quickly. My dad was gonna eat hot dogs, right? And like half of the fucking things were just blue, like just blue
Not
rolls.
blue glizzies.
And he was, and so like 2 of them were like normal, and he's like, "Oh, it's fine." And he like moved the blue ones. It was
Your
gonna eat the
dad
rest.
grew up in a different time where you couldn't
Dude,
throw away food.
Oh, he's just like, Dad, we're not in like Russia. Like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
this
No,
isn't
dude,
Soviet Russia. Like, I
people
was like
don't
screaming. I
realize.
was like, Dad, please don't do this. You're going to get so sick. I basically was about to grab it off him. Like, I was
People
like,
don't
dude, you're being a
realize, like,
child right now. You're
you
like a little
can't eat
baby.
that shit. Like,
Yeah,
even
like it was touching it. It's like it's in the bag. It's fucking ruminating with the other
The
blue
blue
rolls.
glizzies.
They were
Yeah.
blue.
yeah,
I was
that's
like, dude,
insane.
they're like
Like
purple and blue. I'll
bread.
never forget it. Just how
If
shocked I was.
if you have a pack of bread and one of the bread things are green,
Oh, it's over.
you can't eat any of the
Yeah,
bread.
it's
Some people
done.
be like, "Oh, just cut around it," or they'll
I'm
say
telling you,
like,
our
Not
parents
how that
grew up in a
works.
time where
Yeah.
they could not throw
Yeah.
shit away.
And
And
we'll
this
say,
is
like,
why
mold gave it flavor.
"These
Yeah.
ones aren't green yet." The thing is,
Yeah.
just like we're talking about The Last of Us, spores are travel through the air, and they also fungus has like a network system. Once you see the green on the inside, that means like the fungus is all throughout the bread. The green is the last thing to happen.
Yeah, wow.
So that bread being in the same vicinity as the other bread, it's already spreading the spores. So all those other bread
Ugh,
already have the fungus
that
in it.
is
You
so
just
creepy.
can't see it yet. The green's the last thing you see.
Man.
At that point, the fungus was already all through the bread.
And this is why I'm going back to what I said earlier. I would have unalived myself by now because I don't want to live in a world where food is so scarce that you actually have to just carve out the mold and eat the rest of it. Like that's what people do. In these post-apocalyptic worlds, you dumpster dive a lot. I'm not doing that, by the way. So as soon as food becomes scarce and I can't just get like Uber Eats hot wings or Starbucks, I'm good. Like I am totally good because now I'm remembering other things that I do every day that I wouldn't be able to do, like Uber Eats. I can't hunt, guys. I can't do it. I can't hunt. I also don't want to hunt. Like, I don't want to kill an animal. I don't want to fucking watch an animal die because I shot it with something or whatever, and then drag it back and skin it and debone it. And I don't want to learn those skills. I don't want to deal with moldy bread that I got to cut the mold out and eat the rest of it and burn it and certain things and toast it because I killed the fungus. It's just too much. It's too much. I want to be able to Uber eat Starbucks. Like, I can't deal. Call it what you want, but I would definitely unalive myself the second you tell me that, like, oh, just take this knife and carve out the mold and just eat the rest of it. Like, we got to eat. No, I'll pass. Like, I'll fucking pass.
By the way, just to say this whole like hot dog bread fiasco, this was literally like 6 months ago.
Oh my god!
Dude,
My
a hot
dad's
dog
like
being
60
blue
something. He's 60
sounds
something.
so
Dude,
insane.
it was the hot dog roll, and I was just like, Dad, like you're an adult. Like you should know this. Like this is crazy. It's just toxic.
Yeah,
it's so bad to eat bad food. Like we've all gotten food poisoning, and like it just sucks, dude.
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
have
why would you?
very recently within the
I
last
would
2
not
years.
play games with that. Where'd you get food poisoning from?
Or a taco truck, actually. I got 2 bacterial infections. One of them was called Campylobacter and one was called Shigella.
Oh, so video. This, yeah, I was gonna say this sounds like Fraser's the Last of Us story.
It was.
Goddamn.
I basically could have been the
So, yeah,
beginning of the outbreak.
Shigula, and Cordyceps.
I would be so mad if I was the first. God damn it.
No, you're not the first. You're fucking immune.
Oh wow.
Like like you don't get it at
you're
all.
Ellie.
You're immune. You're
Yeah, I'm
Ellie,
the
man.
wrong person to make immune. I already told you I don't want to live. I'm
Right?
the
It's
wrong.
like-
I would be bitching and complaining
Yo,
the
yeah, I
entire
was
way
gonna
you're
say,
escorting me.
Fraser would
wouldn't do
have like a
anything.
chariot. Like he'd have like a
Yes.
like a Game of Thrones chariot.
Oh.
Like, get me my chariot.
You would have to
Like-
treat me so much like a fucking. I would be a little princess. You would need to treat me like the fucking. I don't know, the dawn of the world. I would literally milk it so heavy.
good.
Like, I want all the best food. I get first dibs on everything. If fucking fresh fruit grows out of your ass, I get first dibs. I want first
Be
dibs
like,
on everything.
Fraser, man, my feet kind of hurt. I'm immune.
Yep.
Remember,
I would
I'm
need
immune.
I would need foot
Are you
rubs every
immune?
night. I would require
Yeah.
like
Where's my foot rub? The foot
frequent
rub helps my
fellatio.
blood get circulated.
I would call it frequent fellatio Fridays. Like I would have like all of these
man.
things that would just like cater to me because I'm the fucking cure bitches. So you will bow down. Eventually they would just kill me. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if there was all the chat, like, man, I know he's like immune and the savior of humanity and everything, but he's kind of a douche. You know what I mean?
they would
It's kind of
eventually just
douchey.
take me out. They would rip me apart. A group of regular humans would just
Yeah, somebody would just be like, ah, fuck this.
a
He's
group
too
of
much.
humans would rush my mansion that I'm living in, and they would just fucking rip me to shreds. And I would be smiling as I'm getting ripped. I'd be like, all right,
The
well,
triple F, the frequent fellatio fry. He's just gotta die. Like, it's too much.
That's it. It's
I can't do
done.
that anymore. I sucked his dick like 7 times already. I can't do this anymore. I'm
He
tired.
keeps telling me that it
Fucking
helps.
mouth hurts.
You know.
He says it improves blood circulation. I can't do it anymore, man.
I would just be I'm the wrong guy to tell that like you are the most important person on the
Immune,
planet.
yeah.
Like it needs to be L. Like it
Instead
needs
of
to be.
being like kind of cautious of people, you would just take on another role. You take on like that Lord of the Rings, Game of
Yes.
Thrones king role.
I would be the worst.
Lord
person ever.
Fraser, first of his
Yes.
name.
Yes, I would have a title, several
Fucking
titles.
great, yeah. Like how Khaleesi had like 9 titles. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, bitch. All right, you got 40 fucking titles.
I would have
Relax.
my royal guard. They would all hate me,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah,
it would be
they're like,
ridiculous.
oh. Yeah.
Nonsense.
So where are we at? We're at like so time skip. We're like a little past time
yeah,
skip
so
here,
Joel,
like 20 years.
you figure out that Joel's a smuggler is where we're at. So Joel,
Right.
Joel basically he just euthanized, or he didn't euthanize, but he helped to dispose of a euthanized child.
The boy.
And after you see him throw a child, he's carrying the child the same way he carried his actual daughter who died. I guess we didn't really talk
that's
about
actually
that,
a
but
pretty cool parallel. I didn't even really think of that.
yeah, the way I got that from a YouTube video, but they did a
sure.
side by side of him holding the child and him holding his actual kid when the kid died, and he throws the kid in the fire with no regard. Really, it's just kind of
I
like
was gonna say, kid had some cool ass sneakers. Just saying.
did
You
have
get
some cool ass sneakers.
I like the sneakers. Those green sneakers.
Okay, I
Moldy
guess before we
green.
talk about the 20-year time skip, I do want to just discuss a little bit of what the world for him was like prior to the post-apocalyptic shit. So he's living with his daughter, and they have a really cool relationship. They just have that like perfect father-daughter thing going on where he's like, "Did you do your homework?" And she's kind of like, "Yeah," but you know that when she says the way she says, "Yeah," you could tell like she didn't actually do her homework yet or whatever. They just have that cool like, I'm not going to harp on you
dad.
too much. I'm a cool dad. And he seems to be pretty busy. Like he's not always around because she knows how to do a lot of
construction.
Yeah, she knows how to do a lot of things on her own. I've been there. I grew up in a household where my parents had to work. So they would just like, I would be really young in the house by myself or with my cousins or whatever. And that was just how we were. Nothing really went wrong, thank God. But like, that's just what it was. Like you were just.
Well, that was me and Kenny at Kenny's house, and everything went wrong.
Well, not everybody is,
Yeah. I mean, things went. It's crazy.
But it was always us. We were the reason things went wrong.
That's well. Sometimes there was other factors, but it is crazy, man. Like, I don't know, just running the fucking streets when you're like 12.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
just
Rarely a
absolutely
teenager.
running the streets.
young teenager or 12-year-old kid. But
I don't know where I should let go in terms of flashbackeries or not. Not in terms of saying what they would be, but just saying like how if they happen, how they would happen. Like I don't know exactly what they're saying. I do not want to let anything go of what I would know.
okay.
But one thing I would say is I don't think there are very many flashbacks, but I think I might be wrong because I think the show is just different.
Yeah, I think the show's going to do things. I don't think that they're going to just skip 20 years and never go back to a time where, like, maybe we'll get a 5 years in, because I don't think it went 0 to 100 immediately. Although I will say this, going back to the 20 years, 2003. In 2003, they showed that the second the outbreak happened, the military was, in Texas, and they were instructed to kill everybody. They saw, and now the YouTuber that I watched, yeah, the YouTuber that I watched said that the reason why the military agent shot at Joel and the daughters because he saw the daughter was, he saw the injury and he reported the injury, and the government just said, "Fuck it, we can't take chances." And that's what would really probably happen if I'm being honest. Like, that's just reality. You probably would shoot them because it's a chance that they are infected and he's carrying his infected daughter. It really fucking sucks, man, because the way that whole scene goes down, he's like, "Hey, like, I have my daughter. I don't have any weapons. We're just trying to survive, man." And the guy's just flashing the light at him. And then he just starts shooting a semi-automatic weapon at them. It's just crazy.
Dude, that whole build-up, like that whole pre-time skip build-up was really cool. Like, as they went through the day and like them being man, there's a lot of cops today. Like, there's a lot of crime happening today, and like a lot of random shit.
Did you get misty during that? Like, what? Did either of you guys get misty?
You talking about when she actually was dying? He said it's okay. Yeah. I know it hurts. Yeah, I started to. Yeah. I didn't fully. So I didn't.
I've seen it so many times in terms of the game, but maybe a little misty, but not that much.
I didn't tear up.
It was so great.
This in particular, because it is a death within the first 30 minutes
exactly.
Or so.
Yeah,
but I will say that I felt it. The show accomplished what it wanted to. Yeah. When he was pleading with her and saying, "I know it hurts. I just have to move you," I did start to kind of. I felt it. I felt that if it went on long enough, I would have definitely got even more emotional. But it was an emotional scene.
As fucked up as it is, I'm happy she died that way, because what I feel like they were alluding to is that she was going to become a zombie, because they were like, because she went into the city to like get his watch fixed or whatever, and they were like, what happened is it as of right now, like, it's only like people in the city that are getting sick, and she was like, well, how long do you have to be in the city? And she's like really worried, because like she went to the city. And basically I was like, oh my fucking god! If they make it so that she turns into a zombie,
the Arabic watchwoman wife, that's a pretty strong. She was on it. She's like, bitch, you need to go back home,
dude. If they make it so that like she becomes a zombie and they make Joel kill her, that's going to be fucking. Because that's where I thought it was going. I was like, that's going to be horrible.
Yeah, that's real dark.
But so as fucked up as it is to say, I'm happy she died this way.
I will say this too, though. I like how in these shows, and it happens very often, even in The Walking Dead, the zombies are proposed as the biggest problem, but then it's always humans, just regular, actual humans, who ended up being the worst thing that ever happened to the planet. It's never the zombie outbreak that's the real issue. People are just terrible. They form these factions, they form these governments, they form these mock governments, and all types of crazy militia that end up just going crazy, right? Because I guess just no one to really check you, so you do what you want, and we descend into chaos. And in The Walking Dead, you come across characters like Negan and the governor and stuff like that. All who arrive will survive, and then they ended up being a bunch of cannibals and shit like that. It's like, holy hell, you're hurting
one
people.
Show I think that really puts it over the top in a good way, and like really sends that home more than any other fucking post-apocalyptic thing I've ever seen is probably The Walking Dead. Like, they drive that shit home really early.
People are the problem. It's always humans.
Yeah, it's always people.
Man. I like that episode 1 of The Last of Us.
And I believe that. I really believe that.
I like that it establishes from episode 1 that you need to be worried about the people as well as Fedra and the Fireflies. I was gonna say the butterflies. Fedra versus the Fireflies establishes that as well, because the Fireflies are like, we hate the government, we hate this dictatorship that we're under, we hate this quarantine zone bullshit. We're trying to like revolt against it, rebel against it. We need weapons, we need batteries, we need cars and all types of shit to fight against the dictatorship. But then you have extremists on both sides, right? I'm sure that there are extremists on the Fireflies as well as there are extremists in Fedra. Like, the one guy working for Fedra literally was trading for drugs like Oxycontin and Percocet or whatever the hell people get high off of, fentanyl. I don't know. He was trading for drugs to get high. And
I think it was Oxycontin.
Oxycontin, yeah. And so he's like, that's already an issue that you're trading. What was he trading? Food rations or something?
Yeah, just shit like that. Ration
Yeah.
cards, I think.
And then Joel figured out how to survive because he's like the best smuggler. Which again, I want to say that he gives me ex-military vibes because the way they talk about him in high esteem. So Marlene, was that her name? The Fedra, not the Firefly leader.
Yeah, Marlene.
When she spoke of him, she said, "You're the only person that I think can do this job." She
like they have some kind of relationship.
Yes,
like you don't know what that is, but yeah, like you can tell she's like art, like he's a stand-up guy.
Yeah,
I love how scared the one guy is of him. The guy that like. The guy that like double crossed him and like sold a battery to like
Robert,
and then the battery didn't even work anyway. He was trying to sell it to multiple people and it was a battery that didn't even work. But I love before when like he has like Joel's friend in there, the lady, and she's like whatever, like I'm not gonna tell my guy, like just fucking let me go, like whatever. And then he is scared. He's like, but your friend's a big scary boy. Yeah. Don't let him near me.
Yeah, Tess. when he had Tess like kind of captive or whatever.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of her too.
She's like, I want to let you go. I really do. I like you, but
yeah, she's like
I'm scared. I'm so scared.
It's hard-boiled. She's kind of hard-boiled Tess.
I like her. She is definitely rough around the edges. And another thing that I thought about because, and I mean, this is a topic. So trigger warning. But this is something I think about often because I watch a lot of like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones in these worlds where
I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going. Women just do not have the same rights that they have in 2023 in post-apocalyptic worlds and in pre-technological worlds. The further you go back or the further you go ahead, it's bad for women either way. And so when I saw that the scene kind of opens up with this woman who has a black eye, bruises all over her body, and a group of men just standing around her like that, and it's an HBO show, obviously my mind goes into a lot of different places, and they're all bad places. And it's because I've just been conditioned to know if you go too far back, there's a lot of trigger warning, rape, and beating on women. Like Robert Baratheon punched Cersei in the face in front of his best friend Ned.
And it's one of the greatest scenes of the entire series.
And he tells her straight up, if you say something else, I'll do it again.
She's like, I'll wear it like a badge of honor. And he says, wear it in silence or I'll honor you again.
Yeah, that is one of the best quotes ever.
One of the most badass quotes. I mean, yeah, it sucks he slapped her, but, you know, he's a king. He had to do what he had to do in that moment. I don't condone it. I'm just saying.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's hard to talk about, but like, we got to talk about it. When you get into a post-apocalyptic world like this, and HBO being HBO.
I thought you were going to go into a route of maybe like prostitution, but that's probably a thing too. Like
that's always existed though. That's like prostitution.
Yeah, but there's more desperation. It's like a little more desperate where it's like in a post-apocalyptic thing. It's like you never want to see that in that situation. That's something I've never really seen done in a big way in a zombie thing, and I think I think it would just be really hard to like portray it. And it's just I think it'd be easy to do it. That's why I think like easy to sell ass. I think because like. But it's just so gritty and it's like grimy. It's like
I wonder because HBO they love random sex, they love random nudity and stuff like that. It's pretty much a hallmark of almost every popular HBO show. There's just going to be random sex and nudity, but I don't know if it fits in this world. And so far, there was zero of it in episode 1, and I'm just hoping that like they don't need to force it in.
My thing, like once again, this sounds a little crude, but like this is how I disagree, and the reason being, it's like whatever is the worst thing that can happen. Well, like Frasier, do people have hunger? They will eat humans.
Yes.
Do people want to fuck? They will rape humans.
That's
do people? Right. It's like literally. It's like you go down the chain of whatever is the worst thing.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
I agree with everything you said. However, I think what I'll say, like, and I think this is kind of where Frasier was going. Like, yeah, we know that like rape and murder and kidnapping happens, but I don't need to always see it because, like, for example, in Game of Thrones, right? Like, there's scenes of Game of Thrones that you could just jerk off to. Like,
yes,
fully. like Game of Thrones has basically porn in it in some of its scenes.
Like softcore or like late 90s sort of shit.
Full frontal nudity from male and female actors. There's a scene where like Theon Greyjoy is fucking a girl.
Oh yeah, he goes hard. I remember
and you see his fucking penis, like his whole.
One of his last days is reek, you know.
Yes,
like before he got that bad boy lopped off.
It's crazy. This crazy. They just show. I'm like, why am I blatantly? This is softcore porno.
So, like in this show, like I can they can talk about it. There can be like a before and after, or just like you can show me that like rape exists, but don't. It
I
was
don't
similar
want
to
to
like
see
Goblin
the
Slayer.
actual.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Goblin Slayer
I feel
episode
you.
1. Everybody talked about it because basically, like episode 1 was a hentai episode,
It was
and it was just weird
For
because it
what
was
show?
like Goblin
Goblin
Slayer,
Slayer. It's
Oh,
an
I think I
anime.
heard about that.
and like it's just weird. It's just
What? Here's what
It's too much.
and I'm going. Can he kind of back me up here? But the other thing I was going to say is that if that shit is not in the actual Last of Us video game, I don't want you to force it into the show. I'm just going to say that. So if there's no instances of a woman being held down by a group of men in
Right.
this post-apocalyptic world and any kind of weird shit like that, if that does not happen in the video game, and I'm saying that fully knowing that that most
Right.
likely does not happen in the video game, I don't want to see it in the show because I get it. Like Kenny said, it's obvious that that type of thing is going on. It is obvious that women are
Right.
being abused, that children are being abused, because when you don't have a system, even when you do have a fucking system like we have in 2023 in reality, even when you do have all these things and laws in place and kids are supposed to be off limits and stuff like that, and women are supposed to have all these rights, things are still happening right now. So it's obvious that it's happening even more so in
As long as
a
there's-
lawless world.
I feel a little different. Like I
as
want to
long
see
as
the
there's
darkest
Christians,
side of
children will be in
humanity.
danger.
Yeah.
But I want to see the darkest sides of humanity. Like I actually do want to see that stuff. I want it to
Okay.
be dirty and gritty and disgusting because like I want the redemption arc. Like I want people to do that, and then I want those people to fucking face
Yeah,
vengeance and murder. Like I want
I'm okay with those.
Vengeance.
I'm okay with those
dude.
things being. I'm fine with them things being there, but I think and it all depends on the context of the show and like what
Yeah.
you're presenting.
Mm.
And I think like what
Yeah,
I've seen so
exactly.
far from Last of Us, I'm fine with it being. I'm fine with the content being there. I just don't need to actually see because here's what'll happen, right? Like we'll get like an attractive actress and like
Yep.
make sure we get to see her titties and shit. And it's like
yeah,
I don't need.
yeah.
I don't
I'm with
need
you on that.
Dave to be fetishized and like
Yeah, I don't
turn
need that either.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's
I'm
say
with you on
that.
that. I feel
Like
you. I
Daenerys
feel you.
Targaryen, episode 1 of Game of Thrones, she's hot, but then there's this whole
And then
thing.
the hot Khal Drogo.
Yeah, and it's
fucking-
like, okay, well, this
Yo,
is
people talk about a love arc. They're like, what a beautiful love arc. It's like, you mean how he like brutally raped her on the wedding night?
brutally
Like,
raped her. Like, it's
Yo,
not.
you guys are with me that he's a fucking savage, right?
Yeah,
And like,
literally though, like,
Well,
literally,
yeah.
but like, you weren't invested in that love story, right?
no. When I first
Yeah,
watched
like
Game of Thrones,
people
I
talk
hated
about it like it's one of the greatest love stories. It's like what love he spoke 3 words.
I will
It was
say
like
this,
me fucking meat. That's like
Yes.
all he wanted. Like,
and no,
yeah,
I agree though. I have seen people talk about Khal Drogo in high esteem as though he was like some
like a guy. Like he's not a guy.
like
He's
he
just
was
a
the
caveman
kind of
running around.
the kind of man that women want or something. Like he was so manly, she should have stayed with him. I'm
That
like,
sounds like some fucking Andrew Tate shit.
well, it is. Andrew Tate is definitely a Khal Drogo fan, so that like full stop. He 100% thinks Khal Drogo was the way things should
Had
be.
the right idea.
Yeah. So I mean,
Like it would have been cool to see him stick around to get into the epic battles of the future, but that's as far as it goes for me.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
that arc didn't really go anywhere. It was like he kind of just gets sick and dies, and it's like that's season 1 that I think he dies, right? Or season 2?
he does. He doesn't make it out of
Yeah.
season 1, but it kind of sets
Yeah.
up. The whole point is that it sets up for her being stronger as a person because she was a little.
yeah.
She was a little girl who
Little
never
prissy
knew.
princess.
Yeah, she was a virgin, a little girl, and stuff like that. But not to get too off topic here, but I just want
Right.
to say, like, when I saw Taz, you said her name was. When I
Tess,
saw her
yeah.
all beat up, I was like, damn, that is the thing, isn't it? Like, women can just be beat up, and really, it's not even a big deal, right? It's only a big deal because
Yeah.
her boyfriend, her husband, is a badass. It's not a big deal that she's a woman and they beat her ass. It's more so that your husband is a lunatic and he can fight. He's military or whatever. And like that is what the fear was. It wasn't, oh, we'll be punished by federal or the government.
Right.
It's just like, no, we could beat on women. We could do what we want to them because, we're men. And that's what I got from that scene is that they were more afraid of who her husband was and not afraid of the laws, period. Because there are none. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I shouldn't say that because I guess we should talk about this too. There are laws, and if you break them, you die from what I've seen. One of them was if you try to leave the quarantine zone, you die. And the other one was if you try to sneak into a quarantine zone, you die. So just
my
blatantly
idea
no
with
in or
that,
out.
I think the idea behind that is like just the risk of infection. I think that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it
I mean,
comes
it
down
makes-
to. I don't
it makes sense.
think it's truly like some Orwellian shit. I mean, well, it is, but like shit where like they're doing it just to do it because we're the
No.
big bad government. I think it's everything, and that's one thing I fucking love about The Last of Us is there's so many layers. Like the lady they euthanize the kid in the beginning, and she's like the kindest lady in the world when she's talking to the little
She
boy.
has
Like,
that
I love
job.
that lady. I want to see
She
more of her.
has
Like,
that
she was
job
great.
because she talks like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in a typical movie or video game or TV show, she'd be like, "Well, we're gonna kill you, little boy." Like, it'd be like cartoonish villain shit. Where, well, what the fuck was my point? My point was like,
so they're not just doing it for the sake of saying we're the
yeah,
government, we
like,
want to be
yeah, I think
mean.
like they need that rule. They need to impose that rule because it's like if somebody fucking sneaks out of here, gets infected, comes back, they can kill everyone here.
Yeah,
Because they
everybody in here
move
could
so
die.
fast. So it's like it's
Because
kind of
it's 20 years
practical.
later. So like at
You
They
know
know,
it's
yeah,
happening.
they know
that
everything.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it's happened before, exactly. So
Yep.
like if somebody sneaks out, it's like, well, fuck you, man. We
Which-
cannot risk you infecting our whole
By the
colony
way,
here.
just because I don't really know where a good part to bring this up is, so I'm going to bring it up now. When they go into
Jump
like
around
the
as much as
subway
you-
or wherever they go, when they see the guy splattered on the wall, like I
Oh,
guess the
God.
fungal, I guess eventually the
Oh,
fungus
man.
spreads through your body so much, and like you just explode, and like the fungus is like
He
leaking
looked
out of you
cool
and
as
shit.
shit.
I think
That looked
I
insane.
think what that is. So I think it's okay. I'm not for me to say like I'm not going into anything crazy. I think what that is a human who died that may not have gotten infected, and sometime after their death, I think that their body kind of melds with the wall with the infection. So it's like I don't think they were necessarily infected. I could be wrong. I'm not sure.
I am
But, like,
wondering about that because how do you
and
become
so it's like
a
over
part
years,
of
but it
the
takes
actual
years
wall?
to become. Yeah, it takes years for your body to integrate with the wall like that. But you see, we're gonna see. That's not the last time we're fucking seeing that.
Yeah,
Like,
no, they showed that for a reason, obviously.
Yeah,
Like that,
and it's fucking.
that-
So what Frazier said? Well, you want to say it, Frazier?
Well, go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
Well, Frazier said that it looked like the art and all that from Stranger Things with Vecna, and I was
Yes.
like, what? I don't really see that at all. And then Frazier linked Vecna, and I was immediately it like clicked in. I was like, holy fuck, it's the same guy. Like they
Yeah.
worked on.
So
It's the same. They got the guy that worked on the Vecna art and all that, and it
So
immediately
literally
I couldn't see the comparison until
the
Frazier
exact
said it.
same guy who did Vecna's design and actually created him in real life, like all of the prosthetics
Yeah.
and all
They
of the
got
art
him
that
on.
goes into it. He is literally the same guy who's making the zombies in this. I was going to call him by their other name, but he's
Yeah.
the same guy who's making the zombies in The Last of Us. I don't think they started naming them yet, but he's the same.
And they're never going to call them zombies either. You know what I mean?
No.
Like
Yeah, I
they-
think it's just like
that's
infected.
something our friend Nick was saying, not Stango.
Yeah.
Our other friend Nick was saying is that like in shows like this, where whatever the content is, like they go out of their way
Walkers.
to not
Yeah.
call them zombies. Yeah, they
It's
try,
been, that's,
and
it's
like
even been before The Walking Dead. That shit's so old. Like they've been
Like-
doing it since probably the 90s or
Yeah.
something. Where it's
I
like
they're
wonder
just fucking zombies.
I
It's
think
because they don't want the
if-
stigma. They want to
yeah,
try to
that's
dodge
what
the
I think
stigma.
too. I think it's dodging the stigma, but I also think it's if we don't call them zombies, then it's not as like cheesy or something. Like it's like
yeah.
like vampire. It's like if we call them vampires, then it's corny because
But they
vampires are
drink blood
corny.
and can't
But
go out
they
in the
drink
daytime.
blood and have sharp teeth or something. Well, like okay, well they're vampire, but like no, let's call them something else because
Yeah, I get
it
it.
falls into this B movie type shit.
So-
where like
I wanted to say, just to give credit to a couple things that this show does. I love HBO. So they hired the same guy who designed Vecna and created the prosthetics and all that for Vecna. He also did the Night King in Game of Thrones, and that is really cool. So you can see,
you
can
think
kinda
about it. Yeah, I was gonna say you can kind of see. I think him and Vecna probably look somewhat similar.
They do
Yeah.
look very similar. You can see his. I called it when we talked on Discord his signature. You can kind of see his signature in his
Yeah.
work. You can just kind of see Vecna and that thing that was on the wall in The Last of Us. They look very similar in the way they're designed and the horror, the body horror of it all. Because I stared at that image for so long because I just have a hard time looking away from things like that for some reason. Like I don't know, things like
Oh,
that.
you mean the fungal wall?
Yeah, the fungal
Oh,
wall.
I mean that's what you're supposed to do, Fraser. It's art. Like you're literally
Yeah,
looking at art. You're
I
appreciating
can't
art.
turn
That's what
away
you're
from
supposed
it. Like some people
Same.
literally put their blanket up to their face and like, ew, that's so gross.
Oh
And
yeah, I don't want to see that again. It's like no, I want like a close up fucking
I
tour
like
of
to
it.
stare at it and like
Same.
really digest. Like, ew, like look at what his fucking mouth became, and look at like the nose and everything.
Yeah,
Like,
so my
his
understanding
eyeballs
is
are
it's
no longer there. He just
I
has
guess a
fucking
better
mushroom
way.
head.
Pretty much. I think the best way to describe what we saw, actually, I think the best way to describe it, it's basically just vegetation.
Yes.
I think that's like human vegetation. That is like literally,
it's gross.
just, it grew over the course of a long time, and that's just what the wall is.
I wanted to segue too when I said that they did the Night King. The same guy did the Night King. He did Vecna. Joel is from Game of Thrones. The main character of Last of Us. He is actually, his name is Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones, and he was the guy that basically came to King's Landing to get justice for his sister and her children, Aelia Martell, who was, you raped her, you killed her,
you killed her. Yeah, I love it.
He was a broken character. He was an amazing character. He was only in it for one season, season 4.
Such a bomber.
He represents Tyrion, I believe, in a trial by combat.
Yep.
Against the Mountain, and he ends up being somewhat successful in that he does kind of kill the Mountain with poison, but then he gets his head crushed and exploded on. It's a really, really good. It's good to see his range.
So bummed out though, because it was like, this guy's such a fucking badass,
and he was
like,
winning.
Why?
He was winning and taunting.
I mean, he basically won. He just kind of got like lamed out in the last fucking second.
He did get lamed out. What is this? I thought you said you were a fun guy. No, LOL, fun guy.
By the way, real quick,
this is the last. This is where the last.
Kenny, you should drag in one more. You should drag in the one more thing I just linked. That way, like, I mean, if you wanted to drag, I just linked it. Actually, it's like a super HD image of like the wall.
Not a super HD image.
Yeah, so
it's like Fraser. Look at that. Like,
I was looking at it. When you linked it, I saw it.
You can zoom in. That's like super high quality. So like, I don't know if there's really a reason why he's standing. It's probably whatever. Maybe he got like crossbowed to a fucking wall or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like something had to happen to this person that they would be standing upright and also melded into a wall. I just wonder how that happens.
Like another thing, like I think we gotta have a little suspension of disbelief, because I'm fully convinced if you were to fucking touch that thing, you'd get infected.
I think so too.
I don't know. There's no way you could even go near it. Like they go near it in the show, and it's like,
well, they
you're not going near that though.
They say though, because once again, it's been 20 years, and so like, not that they know everything about everything, but they obviously have experience with a lot of this shit. Joel, I think, says that like, he basically says, I don't remember the exact wording, the exact quote, but he says that like that is no longer transfer. Like he basically says like it's not infectable anymore. Like he says like it's done or whatever. Like you don't have to.
Right.
I don't remember the exact words, but basically looking at, he's talking to Tess and he says like that one's done. Like there's no more infection to spread. It doesn't spread anymore.
I see.
Like when it's at the.
I don't even remember.
Also, the main character he did The Mandalorian, which is season 3. The trailer for it just came out. It's a Star Wars show. It's actually one of the better Star Wars shows. I say this all the time.
I want to see it. I do want to see it.
Star Wars, the movies are pretty mid in general. There's only like a few good ones, maybe 2. And so me and Kenny agree there. But the shows for Star Wars are much better, typically, than the movie content. And The Mandalorian is actually factually like, and I'm a critic. I am a hardcore critic. I genuinely think The Mandalorian is just a good show. Like it's totally watchable. It's actually really funny. And he is the main character, which I didn't know until season 2. Mind you, it's him talking, but he always has on a helmet. The whole point of the show is that the Mandalorian never takes off their armor.
Pedro Pascal?
He's the main character of the Mandalorian.
Oh wow, in the Mandalorian. I haven't seen it yet.
You don't even see his face in the show?
You never ever see his face, not once.
Oh wow, that's kind of
He always has on that Boba Fett looking outfit. Is that who it is, Boba Fett?
Yeah. Why don't they just have it be like fucking Peter Dinklage then? Like what? Why can't it be Peter?
Stop.
No, you say that. You say that, right? But for example, in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Marvel movie, Groot, I am Groot. That's his only line. He's voiced by Vin Diesel. It's like, why are you paying the Vin Diesel money for him to say I am Groot?
I would take $20 and I would do it.
That's so random. Yeah, I don't know like why shows do that sometimes. Like, let's get Kevin Spacey to voice a dog in the background. It's like, why?
Yeah, that's
nobody gives a fuck.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, to voice a dog in the background. So the actual voice actors from the Last of Us video game are doing the sounds and voice acting for the zombies in the Last of Us TV show. Yep.
Another thing that's
it's 2 people.
It's 2 people that do all the noises. Wow.
They do all the noises of all of the zombies.
Marlene, she is actually acted by the person who did the voice actor in the game, which is fucking awesome.
The
She's
person
so cool,
so they designed her character in the game based off of her human self. Like,
yeah, you could definitely tell that that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, she's like a fair-skinned black person, black lady. Like, she has the same type of hairstyle and everything. I looked at the side by side. I said, well, that's just you in the video game.
Just tell it's her. Yeah,
they just put you in the video game, and so it makes perfect sense that she would be given a role. But in the show, I like stuff like that.
But that I like it too. But that being said, like Joel doesn't look anything like Troy Baker. Like, so it's like, and same with Ellie. She doesn't really look anything. Yeah, dude, I'm fully convinced they were doing Elliot Page when they went with Ellie. Like, I'm fully convinced. I even heard that they changed her likeness a little bit before the game came out to make her look a little less like Elliot Page, because I heard like she was like, what the fuck, you guys are literally putting me in a game. Because like they're both named L to some degree.
Yeah.
Like it's literally just Ellen Page from like fucking like Juno or something.
Juno, yeah. I've seen that movie. Her character, Elle's actress, is also from Game of Thrones. She plays Lady Mormont in the last couple seasons. Yeah, she goes out in the long night. So she kills a giant zombie. Which is kind of cool. She kills a giant zombie in that. Oh, another thing that's an interesting comparison is that in The Mandalorian, the whole story is that there's a reincarnation of Yoda, like a baby Yoda. And the main character, Pedro Pascal, he is escorting this child. They literally just refer to it. They never refer to it as baby Yoda. They just say like the child.
They call it a child? Really? Oh, it's adorable.
The child, yes. Because it's like, oh shit, that's a reincarnation of one of the greatest to ever do it. One of the greatest Jedis to ever exist. In a world that doesn't really have Jedis either. Like, The Mandalorian is post Jedis, so there really aren't many of them, if at all. You know how they're in hiding and all that shit in Star Wars. But the whole show is him escorting this child around the galaxy, and people want the child, but he doesn't know why. But he's like, well, fuck it, I'm attached to the child now, so I'm not going to just let you guys have it. And cool. I say that to say he's doing the exact same thing in The Last of Us, where he's been assigned to escort a child who at first he doesn't really care for. Like in The Mandalorian, he doesn't really care for the baby Yoda at first. And then certain things start to happen that make them grow closer. And the same thing is happening, I'm assuming, in The Last of Us. Like, obviously, they're going to become close.
Right. I love
so what you're saying, there's a really good chance of a spinoff with Baby Yoda and Ellie?
Yeah. But I love the that PTSD moment, man, when like he sees the cop and like it's a little girl again, and like he just fucking beats him to death. Like,
yeah, that was
that
a really
PTSD
cool
moment. Like, I don't know, I just loved it. He was just like,
yo, so like that's your I think in that, what happened in the game is I think they kill that guy, but it's not really, he doesn't beat him to death with the fist, I think. But like that's episode 1 of like Joel's anger, my boys. Like, you guys are gonna get some Joel shit that like you can't even imagine. Like,
they established
that man
like
get angry. Like,
I think Fraser was bringing this up earlier, but we might have got sidetracked. Something that I really like is that when he just kills the old lady that he knows, but like she becomes his, and he just kills her, and like there's maybe a moment of hesitation, but then he just kills her, and then like he like quickly is like, this is the shit we have to do to survive. Like, we got to be on our shit. And then like when the part where like the girl's like, I can't do it, and then like he just picks up the boy's body, and like he is at that point where it's like, we got to do the shit that we have to do. And so him like beating that guy to death and like essentially it was like, I'm not letting you kill another kid. It's just like, you can tell that he's going to be like a take no shit kind of guy. Like,
that's how Rick Grimes became in The Walking Dead. He's just started becoming a brutal. He realized this is the way the world is. It's either us or it's them, and I choose us every time. He lets it be known really quickly.
Love it. Same. I love it though. I love it.
I like the part where they're driving on the road. This is when the outbreak first happens, and they see a married couple with a child in their hands, and his brother's like, they have a kid. He says, "We have a kid."
Yep. We have, and then
I love that scene so much.
Where there's like a crowd. There's crowds of people, and he's like, "Go!" He's like, "There's people." He's like, "Roll over!" Like, go!
Roll over them. Yeah.
I like that he's just about that life, and this is before he's jaded by living in this world for 20 years. Like, this is him frame zero of this outbreak. Like, he
has some weird mammalian fucking father instinct thing going on.
That's the thing.
Super father.
It's Papa Bear, Mama Bear shit. Like, his daughter is in the back seat. Like,
Yeah.
They have a kid. We had go. We don't know what's going on.
And she's like, "Are we gonna be okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course we are." Like he's reassuring her at every turn. But when he saw that couple and they had the child in their hand, he said, "We have a kid. Keep driving." Just like that.
Like
Stop playing.
Something I think is like interesting as fuck is like I so Joel says like yeah we have a kid, keep moving and shit like that. But I feel like Tommy is a little more like sensitive, but Tommy has also already done some crazy shit. Like Tommy killed a guy. Like
shot
day
him in the
one,
neck.
he shot a guy. Yeah, like he killed a fucking that like military dude. Like he popped that guy in the back of the head.
Well,
or the neck,
that's a little bit easier for me to digest because that guy had a gun on his niece and brother.
Yeah.
So that one was easy to digest, but when I
he
think
seemed
about
really good with it.
But
like,
what I will
like,
say is how quickly Joel cut off a part of his humanity. I really like that, and that's also like some people are going to be like that because he again I have the suspicion that he is ex-military, even if he might not be in the game or whatever. I just assumed that. I didn't know until you told me that it was it's his brother's truck and like
no I don't know if it's his brother's truck because
I just saw the Desert Storm thing and they zoomed in on it and held the camera.
I only said that because he was driving. It might be Joel's truck.
Remember Ellie found not Ellie. Remember his real daughter when she steals the money from him to fix his watch. She finds stuff in his drawer that
pocket knife.
She finds a pocket knife. She stares. She pulls it out. She pulls out the blade and everything like that, and she stares at it for a while and kind of in surprise. Like she looks genuinely a little shocked.
Yeah, it's kind of weird
that he has a weapon. But
surprised about.
But I just
knife.
think that that's more allusions to the fact that he is a combat specialist. Like he knows how to fight, he knows how to use weapons, and he keeps that hidden from her for obvious reasons. Because in the world that they lived in prior to the outbreak, he doesn't have any reason to be that guy anymore. But I think he's killed people before, and he's just like, I'll kill people again.
Shit.
The other thing that's kind of cool is like, it's interesting when you think about it because we say that like. He very quickly, before the 20 years of becoming jaded, he very quickly was able to like be jaded and say fuck them. But interestingly, there is like essentially a time skip there too, because like the world's normal. It's starting to go crazy, but the world's normal. And then he goes to the prison at like 11 o'clock at night to pick up, or whenever it was. Yeah. It might have been 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
I forget. He goes to the prison to pick up his brother, and over the phone, he's like, dude, shit is crazy right now. We don't know what they saw from the prison to get back home.
Oh, yeah, so that's by the time they get only in the show, by the way. Like on the game, he just goes like, Joel, come pick me up, but you don't know anything about the bar or the prison or anything. That's completely new.
So
So
in the show when he gets back and he sees his daughter again, he's like, get the fuck in the car. We got to, because like they've already seen shit. They've probably seen
dude.
All kinds of crazy shit. So like at that point, he was like, there was hours of him being in the mode of like, fuck them and fuck everybody. Like we gotta go. Was there
a part where he said, "What are you gonna do when you have to kill someone?" Like if they're turning or whatever, and you know them or anything like that. Was there any like?
I don't remember.
I don't remember if there was any question of like, will you be able to kill? I mean, obviously Joel just is like, I will kill to protect my own instantly. It took him nothing. Like you said, he put that old lady down. Was it him who killed the old lady?
He axed her head off.
Yeah, he hit her with the wrench. He like slapped her with the wrench. So in the game, that family, it's somebody named Jimmy Cooper. And Jimmy Cooper is the next door neighbor. You never really see him. But what happens is, I think he calls her on the phone. And he's like, honey, shit's getting a little crazy. And then Jimmy slams against their sliding glass door. And I was like, oh, fuck. And you look outside. It's like when the dog goes up on the glass door. Instead, it's Jimmy. And then he looks at Jimmy. And then, like, Joel comes in. He's like, oh, shit. Like, what's happening? He loads a gun. And Jimmy slams through the glass door. And then Joel shoots him in his living room.
Oh, this kills Jimmy. So scary. Like literally, you described.
Oh, it's fucking awesome. It's really cool, man.
For a human to try to come into your house is already terrifying in real life, like a home invasion. That just the idea of that.
And Joel's not home when Jimmy gets the first slam on the glass, and then immediately you hear the pickup come in, and he like.
Even if it's a home invasion and a person is not a zombie and they're just a real person, that is terrifying to begin with. Like somebody coming into your home. Man.
Home invasions, dude. I fucking watch a YouTube channel that it's a guy covering crime and just things that have happened, like it's in a really non-cheesy, really interesting way. He fucking just tells home invasion stories. I'm like, I need a fucking gun.
Yeah,
Like,
home invasions are
what happens
terrifying.
if somebody wants to impose their will on you? Not to say that's gonna happen,
But
but if it does,
yeah,
it's gonna be scary and bad. And you need a
I would be
fucking, like, I don't know,
terrified
man.
of something like that happening, and then for it to be a person that's not even human anymore. That's even crazier. You know what's something else I like though, and we talked about this in our Discord chat, but we might as well bring it up in a podcast because I'm sure people are waiting for it. It's been an hour and 30 minutes. The game and the show are basically verbatim scene by scene, like literally the way things play out, where they drive past a burning house and they're like,
Yep,
I hope his crazy ass made it out of there. That happens
Yeah.
literally verbatim. When they get to the part where it's like, we have a kid, keep driving, that happens
Right.
literally verbatim. A lot of the scenes
lines.
about the watch and did you do your homework and like your watch is broke and I
Right.
fixed it for you and stuff like that. All of that stuff, the exact lines, like they're taken one for one from the video game. Literally no changes whatsoever.
Yeah, dude, fucking Tommy sounds exactly
Yeah, the guy said
like
that
the
in the
Tommy from the
podcast, too.
game, like
Dude.
really similar, like exact. Whereas Joel, I think it's just Pedro using his voice,
Yeah.
but like I think I can't remember his name, Diego Luna or something like that. I can't.
Yeah, I'm
remember
not
his
good
name
with the
at the moment.
names of the
But,
actors in this
It's
show.
cool, man. I love the fact that they're doing it and like they're adapting the game because like that's what people want. Like when people say like
Yeah.
like
Don't
when
Death
I
Note it.
like yeah, just either you have to make it something completely different and sort of like inspired by it, but it's like it's completely its own thing,
Right.
and like you do it good, or like you just give me the thing exactly what the thing is.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, like.
And
I do
sometimes it's
think-
okay for you to expand on it. I don't mind, like in
I think
House
the
of
show is doing
Dragon,
in a really good amount.
yes, like you said,
Yeah.
that interview in the beginning of the show wasn't
Yeah,
in the
completely new, and it was a great fucking
but
addition.
that expands on the lore and the world building of The Last of Us, as opposed to taking away from it. Right? It doesn't take anything away by putting that scene in.
But
It's
a
like,
lot
why'd
of
they
these
put
creators,
this?
they always want to put their little fucking stamp on things, like
Yes.
and that's why
Yeah,
these
yeah,
things
yeah,
always
yeah.
shit the bed. It's because they don't want to just stick to the fucking source material. It's like, you did not make this,
Yeah.
someone else
Yeah,
did.
and you can
people love
expand
it.
upon it, but
Yeah, you
like
can
keep
expand on
it
it, but
keep
just
it true to what it was, and
don't
then
make
like
it about your fucking
I love
ego
the
and
fact
make it your own show. Like,
I love the fact that they use like the video game music in the show. And,
Yep.
oh,
like,
dude, they have the same composer,
It's-
Gustavo Santaolalla. I don't know how the fuck to say his last
Stop
name.
trying to stop it with the names. You could just
All right.
cut it out.
But he's great, man. Like,
Yeah.
he did the music for game 1 and 2, and like his music is just the shit. It's like really iconic music.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Adaptations when they're done, literally, I don't mind you literally recreating the thing and putting it on the screen. I really don't mind.
Yeah, it's also cool because like for example, I think the Lion King adaptation is horrible. The in that it's literally a shot for shot recreation of the animation, but it looks boring because it's just like
It has
looks
no
like
color.
real lion. Like it's just there's no color in it. It's just the Lion King again, but like the Lion King already existed. In the case of The Last of Us, it's a video game, so adapting it into a movie or TV show makes sense because it's like, well, it's a different experience than playing the game, and
Yes.
like those mediums are very different. And so, if you don't have time to like dedicate to playing a game, then like you can watch the show because the show is going to be roughly 10 hours versus roughly 30 to 60 hours, and
Right.
Yeah. No,
you know
that's
whatever.
very real.
It's just I don't know. The point is, I think this adaptation is really good. Having not played the game, but everything I've heard, it being compared to the game, and what I've seen from the show itself,
Bro, I've
it's a
seen
really
side by side videos of the show episode 1 and the video game, and even the way the scene is directed, right? Like them laying on the couch when they're watching that movie together. She's like, "Oh, pop it in. Like we'll watch it. It'll be exciting or whatever." And she's not really too enthusiastic about it, but it's his favorite movie. She knows he likes it.
Yeah.
That is a
Viper too.
one
I
for
love-
one scene. The camera angle and everything is exactly the same.
Once
Crazy
again,
though,
I don't know.
You are scaring me a little bit. You got to promise me, man. You're gonna be careful in these videos. Like,
I
you
don't-
are-
I don't know if it's in the game or not, but I love the one scene where he's like, oh, like she gives him the birthday present that she fixed his watch. She's like, I knew you would never fix it. And then he asks like how she got the money for it. She's like, I took it from you. She's
I
like,
do like that she
I
told
love
herself.
that scene. She's like,
Yeah.
I stole your money.
I sell
And
drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
She was
Yeah.
like, you know,
Oh, yeah,
it's the
that's
thought
taken-
that it's the thought that counts. Like
I sell hardcore.
I know it
drugs.
was
That
your
taken-
money, but it's the thought that counts. Like, I knew you weren't going to fix it, so like I
Yeah,
stole your
like
money
that.
to fix
I
your
love
watch.
it.
And that's what I mean. You get a lot from their relationship from that interaction. That part where she admits, I took your money to fix your watch because you didn't have time to do it. You never were. I love that scene because it gives you so much context on how they were as a family unit. Like, they're cool as shit
Yeah.
together. Like, he's not mad at her at all. That's not something that he's going to punish her for. Say, I told you not to go on my money again or whatever. He's just like, okay, thanks. Like, I appreciate this. And you got my favorite movie. Like, she really went above and beyond to make her dad's day a really good day, despite the fact that he didn't really get to do anything until the end of the day. And it's dope. It's just a really cool thing. And then, of course, it for such a short amount of time that this character's on screen, the daughter, for her to die, usually I say things like, well, I didn't really know this character too much. I don't really care that they died or whatever, but I genuinely did feel something when she died, because it's basically just showing me and everyone else that you can make a death meaningful with any amount of time, basically.
Yeah, because they endear you to her, because the show, before she dies, it follows her.
It does.
Like the show is from her perspective basically until she dies, in which it like kind of really switches to Joel from that point. But yeah, like the show's from her perspective until she dies. So they do a decent job of endearing you to her, and then she has a really good relationship with her dad. All the stuff we've already said. It does make you care about the character more when she dies. Like,
yeah, when she starts crying, and I almost got the same feeling I got from Infinity War when Spider-Man starts to die, and he grabs onto Tony Stark and he says, "Mr. Stark, I don't want to go." And that shit made me I literally cried Infinity War from that particular scene. I was happy Thanos won, but something about specifically him disappearing and knowing it because of his Spidey sense and freaking out like that, like knowing that a kid, like an
and he's the youngest
child,
one. He's like 16 or whatever.
I don't even
he's
know
the youngest one there.
He's super young, and he's literally saying, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good," and then he starts saying, "I don't want to die. I don't want to die." Like that, a kid pleading for their life. If you ever want to get an emotional reaction out of me, that pretty much always gets it. Like, I don't like seeing kids specifically beg to live. So when his daughter was clinging on to him and he started trying to lift her body up and she starts screaming and like she's like that, and there's
even a thing that they did in both the game and the show. It's kind of like shocking. So like you can tell a little easier in the game. So when she's like crying and shit, he like the camera zooms off for just a second to like look at Tommy or something like that, and then it goes back to her and she's completely motionless.
Yep.
Like it's like a really quick transition. It's like she's crying and shit, she's dying, and then switches off Tommy and then goes back and she's basically dead, I think, within that period of 5 seconds.
I mean, she got shot by a military grade weapon. It pierced her abdomen and probably elsewhere too, because there was so much blood, and he tried to put pressure on it and stuff like that. But in that crisis, in that situation, not only is that has to be one of the most traumatic things that could ever happen to a parent ever. Like, your child got shot and killed in front of you and died in your arms.
Man,
like, that is insane to think about. Insane. Ugh. Really good though.
I can't wait for you guys to see the things that will happen in this fucking show.
I'm amped. I mean,
that's some of my favorite moments in anything.
What's cool is that
story, basically.
Anybody that's listening to this, like, if you listen to it when it first comes out, episode 2 is now out, and then in the future, then maybe more episodes are out. But what's cool is that we've only seen episode 1. Episode 2 comes out tonight.
Yeah,
and I'm excited. Like, I'm gonna get like a pizza. I'm gonna try to get a milkshake.
I've decided that I'm gonna release...
Kenny and the wife are getting all this food and shit.
I've decided that I'm actually going to release this episode today. After we're done this podcast, I'm going to edit it and I'm going to actually post this episode to be uploaded today, and I'll put it on, Patreon, Facebook and stuff.
Let's jump a little bit toward. I feel like we covered a lot, but let's do a little bit towards. I guess like the end. Is there anything?
Yeah. Because we only have so much more to cover. We're like hour 43 minutes in. The episode was only an hour and a half, but you know how.
Exactly.
Okay, so. What do you want to talk about towards the end?
I'm just trying to think, where were we at?
What did you want to jump to? It doesn't matter where we've jumped. What did you want to jump to?
I mean,
what did you want
to cover? I guess we're just kind of seeing like Ellie's a little smarmy asshole.
Yeah, I like how she's being treated, where she's in a room and she even knows the routine every single day of how they come in, they ask her to say the alphabet forwards and backwards and all that shit. They ask her to go through her numbers. So as soon as I remember at one point, she thought that they were coming in to do it again, and she's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then she kind of stops, or whatever, because she's like, I'm still me. I know that you guys are checking because I'm theoretically supposed to have changed by now, but I am literally still me, and I'm over your fucking shit. It's really good.
I'm curious. Okay, what do you guys think is going to happen next in terms of like immediate? Like you see them walk off at the very end.
So the last thing that happens is they go into the city and you see a zombie on top of a building, and it makes like a screeching noise, I believe.
Oh right? Shit! I didn't even. I'm looking at it right now. I did not notice that guy up there. Holy,
that does happen though, right?
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Well, my TV. So when I watch HBO shows and they're on Sunday nights, because I'm just spoiled, I turn my sound bar and sound system up to like an amount that I could get a noise complaint if my neighbors wanted to. It vibrates my apartment, like it vibrates the walls.
Damn!
So when it got to the end, and I saw them zoom out of the city, and you saw that thing moving at the top of a building, and it started screaming, I was like, nope, that's not for me. It was really, basically, I'm saying it was really loud in my apartment when that part happened, so I didn't forget. But what I think is going to happen next. So to answer your question,
all the burned out vehicles and shit. There's so much like
I think we're going to get to see now. So we saw the world inside of a quarantine zone, and it's shit. It's just absolutely shit. I don't like it. I don't like the graffiti. I hate how The Walking Dead, again, they had the graffiti that said all who arrive survive. And this one they say, like, when you are in the darkness, look to the light or look for the light. They always have those weird quotes like that in those post-apocalyptic worlds. I think that what we're going to see in episode 2 is the world outside of a quarantine zone. So how fucking wild is it when you have people, because I'm sure there's going to be people out there too, just like in The Walking Dead, who are living in a non-society type setting, and they're going to just be lawless, killing, raping, pillaging, doing whatever they want to do. But on top of that, there's going to be zombies, I imagine, everywhere, and you have to be really quiet and sneak around on some Solid Snake type shit. So I'm expecting to see that.
You know what I would love to see? I don't know if this is ever going to be a thing. I don't know if it's in it, but I would love to see like a new biome. Like I would love to see essentially a forest. But it's a forest of like mushroom trees that are like built from the bodies, like how we saw the guy on the wall.
That would be
like
sick.
A forest of essentially like dead, what is now dead creepy. Humans, and it's like a new biome created from like these dead people, mushrooms, like and it's like the base of these mushroom trees are like so human bodies. Like that would be so crazy.
That'd be crazy.
Another curse.
I mean, there's things. There's gonna be things that you guys can't even imagine. Like in terms of like, well, that's fucking cool, and like I think they're gonna adapt the second game. I personally think the second game is gonna have to be 2 seasons. I don't think it's possible either that or it's gonna have to be like fucking 10 episodes, 2-hour episodes. Like
if it stays good, I want them to adapt as much as they can. But what I don't want them to do is what we talked about a little bit yesterday on Discord is I don't want them to adapt all the games and to go, all right, now we go to fucking Ellie's talk show season. And like just like I don't want original seasons unless somehow they got a god writer and actually is good, but that never happens. But then again, there's never a good video game adaptation, and this one is good so far, so like I guess it's possible. But as we said earlier, the longer things go on, typically, not always, but typically they get worse. So
there's very few exceptions to that rule where things are like One Piece is still very good. Certain things are still, One Piece is like always going to be the example for me, but things that can go very long and somehow not suck. It's crazy. It's one of the only. I'm trying right now to think of something else, and I'm having a hard time.
It's hard. At the end of this episode, you could see that in the background, there's a skyscraper, and then there's another one that's like fucking leaning on it.
I was about to say,
It's such a crazy visual. Yeah, like it's such. I'm glad you pointed at the guy on the roof. I literally did not. I don't know how the fuck. It's so obvious now that you pointed it out, but I didn't notice that guy on the roof.
Well,
you guys, as far as I know, you guys don't really know much about anything infected, right?
Dude, I don't know anything about the series at all.
I know stuff from the YouTube video, but they didn't like spoil what's like who's gonna die and all of this stuff. I do know what the zombies are actually called though. So I do know that. That's why earlier I just kept calling them zombies, but I actually do know what they're called.
You got to be really careful because
I know literally nothing. I thought, no lie, it's called Last of Us. And I legitimately thought the only humans known to be alive were Joel and Ellie.
Me too.
Me too.
I was shocked
that there was like that there was other people still alive. Like, I thought the
Me
Last of Us
too.
video game, the only humans left that we knew of was Joel and Ellie, and they were like on whatever adventure they were on.
I thought the premise of the entire thing, because I had never played the game, and Tyree Tinsley, who we had on the podcast before, it's one of his favorite games. And he always asked me, "Did you play it yet? Did you play it yet?" And I always like, "I haven't." But it's one of his favorite games ever. And he told me the premise of it is that like this girl is basically, you know, what they showed us in episode 1. She's not affected, but he didn't spoil anything from me. And so I just assumed he's like, it's this guy and this girl going through the world, and there's zombies and stuff. And you just need to play it. It's really good. And I assumed that because of the title, just like Kenny said, that was the premise. It was two people, just two people, and everyone else is actually infected by this bullshit.
Yeah,
and
that's what I thought it
these
was.
two are not. So when I watched the show and I saw that there's quarantine zones and humanity's just intact, technically, I was like, oh, okay. This is very different than I thought.
I was legitimately surprised. Like, as I was watching, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, episode 1 showed me a lot that I didn't know. And the YouTube videos that I watch, like I said, they always make sure in the beginning, because I watch these channels for House of the Dragon, for Game of Thrones, for a lot of TV, like Stranger Things.
I just don't want them talking about infected things like it's a given. That's like my only fear. Like, I don't want them to be like, "Hey, remember when Jared the infected boy?" And like, I don't want there to
There's
not even about humans, but like about infected.
Yeah, no, they haven't even told. Like I said, I don't know how the things operate yet. I don't know.
Like, I don't want you guys. I want you guys to learn it as you watch, because that's part of the fun of it. Is like you learn it as you go, and you're like, oh, okay, interesting.
But like even with episode 1, how they showed there are clearly different kinds of these things. Like there's different levels of the mutation. The videos did talk about that. Like, yeah, there's different levels that you can clearly see. Episode 1, the fucking thing on the wall, that's like. He doesn't
that's
have
level
eyes
100.
Yeah,
that's
like
the
that
last
thing,
level.
It no longer has eyes. It's just like a mushroom head. It's like Mario gone bad. So, yeah, there's stuff like that. But yeah, I still don't know a lot about the world that they live in and how things properly work and function and stuff. And that's, like you said, that is part of the fun of it. That's part of the reason why I think that this was so successful. I think I don't really have anything else. I think if you want, we could wrap this up, and then we have episode 2 coming out tonight. So this podcast will actually be released before episode 2 even comes out. Because I think it'd just be cool if people want to listen to this before.
Yeah, I mean, we recorded it early. So
there's plenty of time. Like I'll probably have this up around like 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, and if you're on the West Coast, you have plenty of time at that point because it's 3 hours behind. But yeah, I know today is like NFL playoff day. It's Sunday, and it's also Genesis is happening, which is what I'm going to be spending my day doing. Smash tournament for Melee and Ultimate, probably one of the biggest of the year.
The Eagles smoked them last night. Oh my god!
Yeah, 31. It wasn't even close. And I'm realizing now that we actually have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Like the city of Philadelphia, it's a real. I'm not.
I think it was 38. I think
38-7. But so 31 point spread.
Yeah.
I have lived in Philly my whole life, right? I've traveled a lot, and Philly fans are like no other. And I live in South Philly, in the heart of South Philly at that. So whenever anything happens with sports, my city goes crazy and my area goes crazy. I'm so used to being let down by Philly sports teams growing up, right? Because up until the Phillies won the World Series in 2008.
Well, the Sixers had a good run in like 2001. They made it to the final. It doesn't matter. If
you don't win, it's like whatever, right? So like the Phillies got all the way to the World Series this year, and then we fucking lost to the Astros.
I actually watched it. I'm not a sports guy outside of MMA, and like I actually watched some of the Philly games at the finals. It was kind of cool to just watch, you know?
I just never believe in... I'm not a sports person really that anyway, but I never really believe in Philly sports teams because I've just been let down so much as a child when I tried to get into it. So now...
Oh, it's a city of trash cans.
Whenever we're doing well, I always think, oh, they're just going to let us down again. But in my lifetime, the Phillies
have like
won,
a true Philadelphian, you know?
And the Eagles have won. So I've seen I'm just waiting for the Sixers to finally get a win.
I actually saw the Eagles win live. That was kind of cool.
It will just be really dope to see. I mean, obviously the Eagles repeating and winning another Super Bowl in my lifetime. That would be insane. And apparently we are one of the favorite. We had the best record in the regular season and stuff. So
yeah, we're one of the best teams this year.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give a shout out to the people on our Patreon. Let's see. We have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Giovanni Avalos, Alex Flamer, Henri Reynolds, CJ, WK-1, Dan Varable, First to Home, Delos Ferneris, S. Akuma, Mitchell Nels, Midwest Gaming, William Shapiro, Demetrius Safirdas, Vince Marquette, Dallas Bailey, Roz Weiss, Nick Stango, Hansel, our two-time national champion, Vincent Zen, Sarah Maria, Sunny Top Cup Podcast, Alex Ahern, Philip Campa, Jalen Haskins, Arali Melfi Slump, Kang Petty, Chris Lynn, Jeff Luang, Blake Jeffrey Smith, Connor LK, MSW 2389, Edison Club, Kyle Botelho, Brandon Moore, and Sugal. Thank you guys so much for supporting the IMNerd podcast. As we always say, it goes a long way. And before we get out of here, I just want to say, do the things that make you happy, guys. I really enjoyed this show, so that's one of the things that is currently keeping me happy, because House of the Dragon is over, and HBO just came out with another banger, it seems like, and I'm just hoping that this doesn't deteriorate into The Walking Dead, because for me,
it's HBO. They don't know how to fuck their shows up. Well, I mean they do. But
the new Velma show begs to differ. All right,
and the end of Game of Thrones begs to differ real hard. But
hey,
I get what you
record.
mean. I get what you mean. The Sopranos
better track record than everyone else.
Is The Sopranos HBO?
Yep.
So I heard that some people like the way
Oz.
The Sopranos ended, but some people just hated that it went to like a black screen or some shit.
Oh, I was alright with it.
Yeah. HBO in general is one of the better studios.
I'm pretty sure he
in charge
came
of the
out
show.
years and years later and said that it meant that he died. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think he finally admitted it like a year ago or something.
But
well, we're gonna get out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Cheyenne.
What
as
makes you
always,
happy?
Thanks for having me on.
Especially eating fungus bread.
Games. Yeah.
Not eating blue glizzies and fungus bread.
Blue glizzy bread. I'll put a glizzy on my bread and eat it.
All right, we're out of here.
All right.
Peace out, everybody.
Thank you.